About huge Maverick news, big Bronco news. We're here to cover all that Ford news. We're also going to be talking about automotive news. So we've got a lot of automotive news, some interesting stories to share, such as huge profit losses when it comes to Ford's EV division. Somehow Tesla's getting it done and they're making money, but Ford is definitely losing money on their EVs. But we'll talk about really what that means because they're making money elsewhere. So Ford's not going out of business. Yes, they're losing billions on one side of the business, but they're not losing billions on the other two sides of the business. Ford's been divided into three segments, and you make a profit in one and you can offset that profit with another division. So we'll be talking about some creative accounting for tax reasons. We're also going to be talking about just general important Ford news, like Jim Farley saying that they're moving to fixed pricing on all vehicles. A nice little article from Kelley Blue Book quoting the CEO, Jim Farley, at the most recent basically press conference in regards to for stockholders. So big news there. We're also going to be talking about the Toyota 4Runner. Marie, you're a Toyota fan, and I'm a Toyota fan as well. And
that's my favorite model of Toyota, so I'm happy that we will talk about it tonight.
And how dare I take a sip without saying Prost to you all. This is non-alcoholic beer, so don't worry about me getting too funny in the show. I get on wild rants all on my own. A little bit of a couple philosophy degree in the background, often influencing my just general opinions and visions on things, world perspective. So we actually cover a bit of world news and what's going around politically, ethically, morally across the globe. When I get into a rant mode, can't promise you I'm not that upset tonight because I just ate a big thick steak, and that definitely helps keep me happy because, well, that helps me feel free. So, to the powers out there, don't take my steak away. I'm ready to fight if you take my steak away. I'm not ready to eat bug protein. So we're going to be talking about also, of course, the all-important question of should I buy right now? And all that depends. Are you buying used? Are you buying new? Do you have a trade? Is your trade even worth anything? We'll be talking about when a trade isn't worth anything as a trade-in. Wearing the Bronco t-shirt for tonight because we've got big Bronco news, not just for us, but mostly for us, but also for everybody because we've noticed some major differences with the Bronco. We had very early 2021 Bronco. We had a late 2021 Bronco build, and we had already noticed some differences there. And now we're noticing some major differences and also some areas that should have changed and haven't changed. So maybe we made a huge mistake not waiting for the 2024 Bronco. I've got dates for that. We're going to know all about the big Bronco and 2024 big Bronco. We're going to know all about that very soon. We'll talk about the dates, what can be expected, what needs to be worked on. So we've got a lot to say tonight. So let's get the show start. Yes.
Just before we start, we need to say a huge thank you to Orbay to become a new member of this channel, the Black Diamond section.
Pros to you, my friend. Thank you very much for joining the family. So anyone that subscribes, you're part of the community and you're really helping this channel grow, helping to get the right information out there because I'm all about presenting the real deal and making sure no one gets fooled. So, when we've got articles saying don't buy right now, well, I like to cover why you wouldn't buy right now and why you really would buy right now. When there's articles saying, the new Mazda Maverick, the Mazda's new Maverick is going to be so much better, and there's just really no indication, really nothing concrete from coming out of Mazda that there's going to be a small truck. I like to say, well, I call BS on that and do a little BS busting. So let's get the pedal to the metal and get started right up. Now, Maverick news. So big, huge Maverick news that you'll want to know. We're going to be talking about new Mavericks. And also, if you're a current Maverick owner, this pertains to you because, trade-in value, but you're also probably going to end up owning another Maverick because you're probably going to like your Maverick quite a bit. So big Maverick news. All my dealerships, Mavericks, at least all the ones that I reviewed. I tried to pick them all up, but almost all the Mavericks got scheduled. That's big news. That means there's going to be a lot of good news coming to people, up and coming. I don't think that many people are going to get left behind. I was originally worried that there'd be about 35% of people who've ordered a Maverick that would not get a Maverick. And, basically originally made a video covering dates. This was right after late September, when Ford USA had sold the Maverick out in 5 days. Complete sellout of the Ford Maverick.
That's incredible.
And I was saying, look, if you're day one, you're going to get your hybrid. But if you're a day two order, most day twos will get their hybrid order. But I was saying at least to halfway through day two. And I was saying if you're in the afternoon of day two or day three or day four or day five, you're almost probably, unfortunately, we're not getting a hybrid. Now, Ford made a big push. Things changed because Ford's percentage towards building hybrids is now up to 50%. So, of course, new data, new manner of making, producing what Mavericks you produce and the percentage. Well, I have to go back and change, somewhat change my story, but it's because there's new data. So with that new data, I'd have to say that, maybe up to end of day 3 for a hybrid, you're probably getting a hybrid. So there will still be carryovers. So that's kind of big news. It's going to be huge news to people who are getting carried over. But the even bigger news is that a lot of people will not get carried over. And I'm sorry, I don't have the picture up because it's on my other phone. Had a little technical trouble getting the show started. So instead of that, 2 to 5 minute premiere waiting period, well, I didn't start the show at 7 p.m. right on time because I want to get you guys more photos. We only have 75 photos tonight and about 5 news articles to cover. So it's going to be a quick one.
That's a lot anyway.
You'll still get much better photos in just a moment. Just want to point out, very important, Maverick news, and Maverick Marie looks good in a cowboy hat. And if anyone wants to support her here,
I know you would use it all the time, just because one day it was raining and I put that hat too.
She was not wearing I photoshopped this.
Yeah,
I have one photo in our
by the way.
entire relationship over 8 years. I've got one photo with her wearing a cowboy hat, and I've totally abused it. And it was because it was raining. Sensible stuff.
I could guess we will see it 100 times now.
Oh yeah, I'm photoshopping you on all sorts of thumbnails, my friend.
And you were right. A lot of people will be billed for the Maverick, because Mike Davidson says he asked a question 3 weeks ago about ordering the 2023 EcoBoost Maverick on July 6th. And he asked then if he would get his 2023 model. You said yes for Canada, little chance for USA. He said, well, you were right.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing the good news outside of reviews.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you for supporting Marie and her cowboy hat wearing practicality. I wear a cowboy hat anytime the sun is too strong or there's a whole lot of rain. It's mostly a rainy day thing. So Winston and Lily should have cowboy hats in a Bronco. It fits with the Bronco.
That's a great idea, Marinvet.
Bronco news, truly, we are coming up to Bronco news in about 4 to 5 minutes. But for now, let's finish up the huge Maverick news. So that is huge. A lot of people are gonna get their hybrids. Ford Maverick hybrids. EcoBoost. Every single one of my EcoBoosts have been scheduled. I have one hybrid that has not been scheduled, but I have a hybrid that was ordered, and I've got the notes here. Let's switch through old school news anchorman here. Got the notes on paper. Good old paper. Nothing wrong with that. Got to support that paper industry, especially that in our area, they make paper. So we try to buy the paper from them. So this was in October, and I should have scrolled down, and I don't want to pop my internal system up on the screen because, well, it does say confidential. It's not, I'm not supposed to show the outlay of the setup of the tracking detail here when it's an inside job, we'll call. But it was October 22nd. My memory is usually excellent, and when it's visual, and I've got the visual in my head, October 22nd, 2022. But of course, this is in Canada. And actually, I wasn't crazy. I even marked it in the notes, but I hadn't noticed yet. So this is great news because that means you've got a hybrid. Of course, Canada, things sell out a little slower because, well, this whole system was down for an extra, what was it, roughly 2, maybe 3 weeks when order banks opened in the USA in 2022 for the Ford Maverick. In Canada, we couldn't do anything. I tried it every morning and every afternoon until we could. And then I was probably the first in Canada to catch it. I was around 1:30 in the afternoon. I put in your order and I was ready. I put in about another, 10, 12 orders, or 15, all the ones that had given me the information and the A-OK for a 23. And then I continued to put them in for about the next day. So that's great news. Why did this happen? Why was I wrong? Well, I was wrong because I was basing my numbers on roughly 33 to 35% of all Mavericks getting built being hybrids. And I was basing my numbers on about 5,000 Mavericks being built per month. Because if we recall back then in 22, a great month was about 6,000, 7,000 units, and a pretty normal month was 4,000 or 5,000, and we were still seeing months with about 33,000, 3,500 Mavericks being built. So now that we're seeing months with 11,057 Mavericks getting built, well, that completely changes my outlook. So my outlook officially is that you ordered your hybrid in the USA day one, you're going to get it even if you're not a carryover. If you ordered it day two back in 2022, putting in your 23 order, you're going to probably almost certainly get it, other than the rare exception from a dealership that took way too many orders, way above their allocations. But on average, I think day two, you're going to be safe. Day three, you're going to be safe. And you might see day 4 and day 5 hybrids be carryovers at most dealerships, with the exception, the exceptional dealership that basically sold pretty much just their allotments or barely over their allotments. Well, they might get their day 4 and day 5s. Just like how here in Canada, the hybrid by October 22nd, we've got nothing official to go by, but I'd say you'd think it would have been sold out, but we're a dealer that did not way oversell their allotments. So hybrid from October 22nd, 2022 came in, delivered. I've got an order from shortly after that, and it has not been, well, shortly after that, a couple months after, December, it has yet to be scheduled. And for next Monday Night Live, I'll come back with Maverick News to actually say what that date was. But in Canada, the reason why things aren't selling out as quickly, it's because Canada gets distributed, well, we're about 10% of the US population. We've got 10% of the dealerships. USA has 3,000 dealerships, roughly. Canada has 300 Ford dealerships, roughly, about 330. So we get about 10% of the production. And in Canada, we're unfortunately not as car crazy. We put a lot of money into our homes, and some people are lucky enough to also put some money into a second home, a cottage, or a rental unit. But homes in Canada generally are pretty nice, and that's pretty much where really most Canadians put the majority of their salary. Most Canadians don't spend a lot of money on vehicles unless they have a whole lot of money. But your regular middle class couple won't go out and buy themselves an $80,000 vehicle each. They'll often be driving something that's 5 to 10 years old, or something new, but
$40,000
on the inexpensive range.
Yeah. That's true.
And also want to mention, part of that news for the Ford Maverick is that they opened up a third line, so a third production line. So I want to officially also point out, here's a bit of BS busting for those YouTube channels that are saying Ford does not want to build Mavericks and only wants to build high trim F-150s. That is just completely wrong. That's just a great thumbnail to get 400,000 views. And, well, if you set up your YouTube channel well, you get about $2,000 every 100,000 views. A million views is worth roughly $20,000 if you do a finance channel, which I should have probably done in the beginning, but I just love vehicles. If you do a finance channel, well, then it's about 3 times more. I'm sorry I didn't do a finance channel. I just can't help it, hun. I love vehicles.
That's fine.
So I went with my interest, my primary interest. Finance and the stock market is my secondary interest, I'd say. My other hobby. And anyways, I felt I could contribute more in regards to vehicles because I live and breathe this without YouTube for about 60 hours, 55 to 60 hours a week. Plus all my personal spare time, I'm stuck on, looking at the used market, looking for vehicles. But
Really stuck on it.
this Bronco,
Each morning.
every night, I am on my phone looking at what is for sale. But you know what? I think I found the right girl. Because I haven't been looking at other vehicles since this is parked in the driveway. I've been a good boy. I've been faithful, you could say. I've been vehicle faithful.
The Bronco is the perfect one.
Thank you, the WB, for the support, and I'm taking baby steps towards both. I've cut alcohol out because I've had a bit of trouble with that in the past. And also, I've had a lot of trouble with changing vehicles just too quickly because I used to be very comfortable with losing $8,000 or $9,000 between my trade value and my amount owing. I used to be very comfortable refinancing $8,000, $9,000 on another vehicle. And no one should be. That's a very bad time to buy, but I haven't always been financially savvy. I had to make that choice because if I wanted a classy lady in my life who is better looking than me, I knew I needed money. So that's a little secret for the boys out there. If you want a better looking,
Are you saying
nicer, classier partner in life, it really, you're probably...
I'm not there for the money. Are you
gotta-
saying that?
And you're not there for the money, but you certainly helps when you have a nice house, when you got your life put together.
When I knew you had an old Camaro with wolves on the ceiling. So it wasn't for the money that I was with you.
I was in a transformation process. By the way, you took one ride in that green Camaro with the wolves on the ceiling, the wolf blanket on the ceiling. And you said,
class.
Never again. And you're like, I really need you to sell that. I'm never getting in that again. And that's an embarrassment. So I had to sell the vehicle. So I had to class up. But anyways, back on topic, the Ford Maverick. So Ford does want to deliver Mavericks. They're delivering XLs. They're delivering mostly XLTs because traditionally the majority of truck sales go towards the middle trim. And they're building them as quickly as they can. Here's the thing. If you're one of the people that says, Ford should have known how much of a success this would have been and should have planned accordingly, you're asking Ford to ignore Honda Ridgeline numbers, which, before the last 3 years traditionally sold roughly 33,000 Ridgelines per year. You're asking them to ignore Ford Ranger numbers, which were selling at around 70,000 units, 70 to 80,000 units per year. The first year, that about 95,000. And then the last year in 2019, if I recall, they're in the high 60s, low 70s. So, and that's basically you could see about the numbers that Ford planned for. The factory that produces the Bronco Sport and the Maverick can produce about, I wish I could have my memory was working correctly right now. And this is where I'd ask for the people in the live chat, our community members and our family members. When you join the membership, you're really supporting the channel here to grow and survive even. I would say that I thought it was 150,000 units per year, but I couldn't remember if that was just Maverick. That was the full potential of the Maverick. I think the full 3 lines, working full-time, 12 months, never any downtime, everything full speed, no errors, so impossible number. I think it's 300,000. It's about 150,000 units each. And you can see that in months where they build 11,000 Mavericks and about 15,000 Broncos. They're getting pretty close to that 30,000 unit per month mark, which is pretty much, full out what can be handled. At least that's what we're seeing so far. So if you're saying Ford should have planned for this, you're asking them to ignore the Ranger, ignore the Honda Ridgeline, and build a whole new factory. So you're asking for, basically saying, well, Ford, before they brought out the Ford Maverick, should have had a whole new factory online. So you're really asking them to bring out the Ford Maverick a couple, 2-3 years later, because a factory doesn't get built overnight. You look at Ford Blue Oval City, it's being built now, and it's going to be ready in 2025. So it's going to be a 2-3 year process. So that's how long it takes to build a factory, and it costs billions and billions of dollars. And if then, let's say, they would have gotten the Maverick wrong, or maybe the economy is at a different place by then, had truck prices not exploded, the Maverick wouldn't be as hot of an item. If you could get an F-150 for $40,000, the Maverick wouldn't be as popular. So truck prices have exploded on the F-150, the Ram 1500, can't call it Dodge anymore. They want to disassociate themselves, I guess, with Dodge and just call it the Ram 1500. It's as if, it's almost as if they're letting us know that they know they haven't always had the most reliable product, but that's a different story for a different rant and a different day. But Chevy, GM, if all these trucks hadn't exploded in price, the Maverick would be less sought after. So that's what's going down with the Maverick. Ford had to deal with, you have to make a guess. And with everything that happened, well, it doesn't cover it, but they're doing what they can. Third line opened up. The only thing they could do, could they cancel the Bronco Sport? Well, they could, but the Bronco Sport is more expensive than the Maverick. It's same platform, so you got to assume it's probably more profitable. And when I look at dealership profit, Bronco Sport versus Ford Maverick, I can say there is more profit on a Bronco Sport. Not a lot more, but there's more profit on a Bronco Sport. And I have this sneaking suspicion, and I always have had this, and I've heard rumors over the years, but my initial thought has always been, and it remains to this day based on what I've seen over the years, what I've heard over the years, but I've always felt that a dealership's profit is very similar to Ford's profit on the model. And when the electric vehicles came along, they're like, well, there's no profit, so we're not giving you any profit, but we'll give you a percentage off the total of the vehicle. And we want you, they told us you have to sell it at fixed pricing. Dealerships, here's a whole different story. Dealerships didn't listen, not all, but some. And the result was that Ford had to build all new divisions so that they could say, well, electric vehicles, that's a new Ford, a new division, kind of like Dodge saying, well, no, we have the Ram 1500. It's different. It's not a Dodge 1500. It's a Ram 1500. There's no Dodge in it. Well, Ford divided this up, created 3 new divisions. And for the electric division, this allowed them to legally tell dealerships, well, this is a whole new game. And if you want to become an electric dealer, you have to sign on the dotted line that says you will sell at the price we tell you to sell at. Otherwise, these are the consequences. It's just not doable. You'll lose your right to sell them. You'll have fines. You can't give fines based on the old contract. So that's a different story for a little bit later on. But January 24th, there will be fixed pricing for the EV vehicles. But more on the fixed pricing story coming up. And I'd love it if you helped me out, honey, and you actually wrote that so I don't forget to talk about that, because it's actually pretty important and very pertinent to getting a good deal in the future and what things are going to look like. So, Ford Maverick. Now, unless someone tells me in the comments that we haven't covered everything that we need to cover for tonight, that covers, in my opinion, all the new Ford Maverick news. If we've got a question on the Ford Maverick, I will gladly answer anyone's question. That's what I'm here for.
Good. For now, we don't have one.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we're good.
Now,
Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help us with the channel.
You're doing. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it. Because I always forget to ask for a little help. I'm very bad at asking for help, and I got to learn how to get better at asking for help. So, what do we've got here? We've got our brand new Bronco. And we even took the time, like many Bronco owners, we couldn't resist. We had to park beside a Jeep Wrangler Renegade when we saw one. Sorry, Rubicon. Renegade. Whew, I'm out in the field. Rubicon 4xe. Big Bronco news. Ford has to compete they have to be realistic. And they need to compete with the market. And they need to stay up to date with the market. You look at the Wrangler. for the new 2024 Wrangler, what did it do? It incorporated a lot of things that they probably wouldn't have incorporated if there wasn't competition. So they incorporated a better interior, a bigger touchscreen, a better looking front grille. They had to, they had to invest and spend money making the product better because they've got good competition with the very good competition, tough competition with the Bronco here. So competition makes everyone better. So I think that is, Marie just didn't want to be in this photo. I didn't tell her to lay down. I was like, honey, just stay in the photo.
I wasn't thinking that you were having me in the shot.
I didn't mean to. So big, huge Bronco news is that, really the Jeep is better now and the Bronco has no choice to become better. August 14th, according to my fleet order bank information, August 14th so far is looking like the date that we're going to get those order guides. That's, the Moses's tablets. It's the commandments. They're straight, they're strict, they're obvious. Everything's spelled out to a T. We are going to know exactly what the new 2024 Bronco is going to be all about. We're going to know all about its business. And for changes, Winnie's excited. Winnie just loves his Bronco. Have you and it's wild. We tell Winston, it's weird. We go, do you want to go for a lightning ride? And he'd be like, oh, okay. He seemed like he's willing to come along.
That much. He's crying in the back seat.
Yeah, he cries the whole time. In the Bronco, it's wild. He just wants to stick his head out the window. He's a thrilled puppy, and we're all going to be thrilled puppies when we find out the 2024 Bronco news, because I'm expecting some decent upgrades, which is really rare for a mid-model refresh. Normally, mid-model refresh means not a whole lot's going on. No. Let's talk about the positive of a 2024 Bronco. Marie, what do you think we'll get on the 2024 Bronco?
I'm not sure that much. I'm not the specialist like you.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I will need help on that one.
No worries. You can talk about what your impressions of the Wild Track are, and do stay tuned to the channel. Hit the bell notifications so you don't miss out, because we'll do a full review where everything is very much very visual. We'll do a live, what you could say is like a filmed review. But what we're getting out of the new Bronco, I think it's time that they announce the plug-in. You've got it on the Jeep. The 4xe is an excellent product. And I know, I'm going to talk about it after, and I know this isn't the freshest news, but we are going to talk about how Jeep isn't going to be selling in, if on dealer lots, they're only going to have the plug-in option for 14 different states. How upset would you be? I hope Ford doesn't do that. And, that's, of course, it's not because Jeep doesn't like gasoline, and the Dodge Challenger dropping the V8 isn't because they don't like V8s. It's because they have to follow these CAFE rules where they've got to get their fleet average. That means over all the vehicles that they sell, that needs to average out to having a 50 mile per gallon average. Otherwise, you pay fines to the government, or you buy carbon credits from Tesla. So Tesla gets to make a whole lot of money. Part of the reason why Tesla is so profitable, just selling tax credits, carbon tax credits to Dodge is a multi-billion-dollar per year business. And it's all phony, it's all made up, and they always seem to forget to count the impact of mining the battery, where the electricity is coming from, as well as the environmental impact of recycling that battery. That's a different pile of horse crap for later on in the show if I get in a ranting mood. But I'm still very happy because I had a great steak and I'm drinking fake beer. My brain doesn't know the difference. I'm thrilled. Cheers to everyone. But I'm expecting a plug-in. I'm also expecting, if we can get some more photos in here. Fantastic light design here. And maybe it's just me, but I can't zoom in, sorry. Honey, could you try to see if you can get that done? So we already have fantastic front and back lights. And
It's worse.
I do suspect a slight modification to those lights. I'm almost hoping that they keep the lights. I find the lights and the Bronco up front pretty much perfect. I
It's a
can't
good look.
imagine it getting any better, but fenders here, they're gonna change. I'm confident. I've got a strong feeling about this. That's somewhere where they can play around with the vehicle, and if people are upset, they can just buy the old fenders. So it's low risk, high reward. You change the fenders, those that like the change, it's going to be, it's going to be a big reward for them. It costs next to nothing because this is just, let's be honest, people, this is just cheap plastic that somehow looks good, but it's unbelievably cheap plastic.
Yeah, you're lucky it looks great like that.
Yes. Mind you, if you go to replace them with original Ford parts, you're not going to feel it's that cheap. And you're like, Johnny's full of baloney. He said they're cheap. They're super expensive. I mean, they're cheap to produce. They're inexpensive to produce. And they're not cheap in quality because we've banged these up. We've gone down dirt roads at like 110, 120 kilometers an hour, rocks kicking into them. We've flown, not this new Bronco, but our old Bronco, flown through farmers' fields that we were allowed to be in. And they stood up. They were strong. We didn't see any damage on them. We were thrilled. They did a good job.
Yeah.
Currently, you can only get a steel rear bumper, the full steel rear bumper on the Black Diamond and the Badlands. But I'd like to see that as an option in 2024, that you can add a steel bumper on any model. Because really, if I want to take this rock crawling, this wild track, it makes it a hard choice between a Badlands that already has the stabilizer bar disconnect and a steel rear bumper, and this plastic bumper, which is going to crumple a whole lot easier and cost me a bunch of money. I don't mind if I damage the back bumper because the aftermarket companies make fantastic bumpers for not too expensive. I keep coming across Rough Country as being not that expensive. Like Rough Country generally is like really very low prices. So that's maybe something I would look at if I break that back bumper. Now, loving the fact that you can now have these hoop steps, and I want to test with my jack in an area unseen, like a small little area, put the jack up to the bottom circular bar and see if it can support the weight of the vehicle, because the Badlands model, of course, those are rock sliders and can support the weight of the vehicle. And
they had a great look.
There's no talk about it. Yeah. Either way, it is a fantastic running board. You can put your 2 feet on these 2 steps and very easily open and close the top. So I'm really enjoying it. But for 2024, plug in some fender changes, new wheel options, probably a little bit of change, maybe the mirrors, because that's low cost, high reward. You're probably not going to upset people too badly, and they can always just, buy the older model if they really prefer it. The grills, we could very well see new grills, also low cost as a change. High reward, because some people are just going to be thrilled if you got a 2021 and you see new grills and new fenders and new side mirrors. That might just be probably enough reason for you to change. Now the hood, we've seen it year over year throughout the decades on Mustangs, mid-model refreshes. They often change the front headlights and the hood. I love the hood on this thing. Could it be a different design without bothering me? Yes, and I think most people agree. It's a great design currently, but if it changes, I don't mind. The lights, I really hope they don't mess around with them. They look retro and amazing. But maybe for 2024 mid-model refresh, maybe they'll give LED lights for, with the signature round to everyone. What I would like to see, and I'm not expecting to happen, I think the higher trims, for example, Outer Banks, Badlands, Wild Track, the Heritage Editions, I think they should all get different and better tops, standard. I think they should all get standard, a better sound system. Would you agree?
Yeah, you didn't love the sound system of the other Bronco that we had?
The 21 Badlands, as well as the 2021 Outer Banks Sasquatch package. The sound system on one, I think we blew a speaker because it ended up being pretty horrible at the end. That's probably because shaking. I blew, shaking. And if you went over 14, 15 volume, it started to sound bad. And at 16, 17 volume, it sounded horrible, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't that that much. How can I say that? It was not higher. 15. It's not a higher sound. So
No, it didn't. Yeah. So the sound was quite poor. Now,
this one we see a little difference.
yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah,
You know,
we
this
were
is
not
a good
sure
area
the
for
other
you.
day if they had a new another set of speaker.
Yeah.
In the
By
bottom of the door, we
the
were not sure.
footwells. In the footwells, they're not on the doors, of course, because they don't want them getting wet. You take your doors off. They don't want you to lose your speakers. So in the footwells, the sound is now so much better. So it's now maybe 6.5 or 7 out of 10. But those speakers sound so much better. We were asking, did our 21s even have speakers in the footwells? So please, Bronco owners in the comments section, help us out. Does your 2021 or 2022 Ford Bronco have speakers in the footwell?
Because we don't remember, so we think it's a new thing.
Well,
We're
it's
not sure.
or the speakers are just so much better because now it can actually shake my pants. I feel the bass in
your
on my
foot?
legs.
Yeah.
We can listen up to volume 20, and at volume 20, I don't want to put it any louder, just because I don't want it to be louder. But it sounds great.
The sound is clear.
The sound's clear. The sound's good. Now, it does sound like it's a vehicle running with 2 very good speakers and no other speakers. And when you do focus in and start hearing the top speakers, they still sound below average. And I mean market average. If I compare them to my 1991 Toyota speakers, they're the world's best speakers compared to that 91 Toyota MR2's speakers. But I mean, to today's technology and what today's vehicles are offering, let's say we take a Lincoln Nautilus that I was in last week, had it for a day. If we compare that, day and a half, if we compare it to the Lincoln Nautilus's sound system and say that's a 10 out of 10, well, the Bronco's 2 speakers at the bottom would be about a 7, but the ones on the top would be, let's say, a 3 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. They're really not very impressive. And the speakers in the back, I don't hear anything coming from them. Just like before, we have a high package, so we don't have the full out. M. Peugeot, in the video that we premiered on Friday night, I think, or Saturday night, about the Wild Track versus Badlands, he made a great point. He said if you get a kicker sub amp kit, I think it was the 45 SH, I looked it up. It's about $550 to $650 US, depending who you buy it from. And I went through the specs, and yeah, that looks great. You can probably have, and here's the thing. You're going to pay someone to do all that wiring work for you. It's going to be expensive in regards to install. So do you want to risk getting a $200 system? Because you can get some speaker boxes that will fit underneath your seat, just like the kicker system. But
so that's there that you have the idea to have add a sound system to the Bronco.
It is M.
You didn't tell me it's
fault.
M. Peugeot's fault.
So
I need to speak to him.
So kicker 45 SH, I believe is what it was. I must be getting it wrong. And Crutchfield here. I must be getting it wrong, and M. Peugeot isn't here to correct me tonight. But it's a speaker box, and it has the amp included, but you can get, Boss, or BOSS, so Bose. Sorry, Bose. You can get a Bose kit for a relatively decent price.
It's BOSE, not like Boss.
Seat subwoofer and amp. So Winston's joining the show here. So, you can see here you've got the kicker 46HS. So I was off. And Peugeot says this is going to be fantastic. He knows what he's talking about. So that is a fantastic option. But it's not the least expensive option. You could go with Blue Punk is making them. You've got, let's see who else. Rockville here. I don't know about them. Pioneer, Alpine, all options. So you've got to really look through it. The main thing that I want to point out is if you go with the Ford soundbar, I'm not against Ford accessories. I love how Ford accessories are guaranteed usually for 2 or 3 years. So yeah, you had Blue Punk here at $195. So we should actually add that to our site here. Just zoom in here. So you've got the Blue Punk 10-inch car under seat, super slim, and the price is $195. So do you go with the kicker
Not
at
that bad.
basically $600, or do you go with Blue Punk and hope it does the job? 200 watts. You always want to look at JBL. I like JBL. JBL has always had a good quality versus price, in my opinion. When you go over to Ford, though, you're looking at $923, and you know what's this here? That's the sound bar behind your head in the Bronco. I know it's going to play great music. I love the fact that it's going to play great music. I don't like the fact that it can already not, like, I already see just enough. I'm not willing to lose that the visual.
That's true, because it take all the place. You don't
Yeah.
have that much visual with that one.
So, you know, Rough Country makes one. You go over to Rough Country here, but once again, what are you seeing out of your back window? I use my back window. Maybe those of you out there that feel you don't need to know what's behind you, that's fine. I don't know. When I drive, I just need to know if someone's following me real close, because I need to know when to brake check them. That's just a joke. Don't do that. You'll get into an accident. Well, they'll get into an accident. They'll drive into your tire, and they'll ruin my Wild Track bumper because it's made of plastic. I feel that kind of is not great on Ford's part. I think Ford should have really at least had the option, a no-charge option, or a low charge, maybe $500 from factory, to choose to have the back steel bumper. But the Badlands has it. And the Wild Track 2.7 liter is $10,000 more than a Badlands 2.7 liter. So in the video that I showed the other day, if you want to check it out at the end of this live, we had a $73,700 Canadian Badlands Bronco red versus $83,000, $10,000 more Wild Track. And I don't like spending an extra 10 and having less. I have trouble with that. So let's go see what that other Bronco looks like here. See if the photos actually made it into the show. And they did. So you've got the Badlands, you're saving $10,000. I think that is a fantastic option. You could have the steel bumper, but this is the half steel, partial plastic bumper. I just like the look of the steel, and I don't care about fog lights. I've never felt the need for them. These tires you can bring out in the snow. In our area, the Wild Track comes with tires that are not legal in the snow. If they were, they'd be a higher quality, more expensive tire. I think the Wild Track should get that as well. So I'd like to see better tire options for the higher trims from Ford for 2024. But honestly, I'm going to be disappointed. I don't expect it. Mind you, it did happen on the F-150. I've complained for years on how F-150s, you can have LT 3-peak snowflake rated tires, meaning you can run them year round, even if you're in an area that legally requires winter tires. They pass as both winter tires and summer tires. And Ford finally has it as a $350 option on the F-150s that have 18-inch wheels. Now these, I believe, are your favorite mags of all.
Always my favorite. I love the Badlands. It was the first Bronco that we have, and since then, I just want to look at the Badlands.
So,
but you try different model all the time, so that's good too. We'll know the difference between them.
I'm
Trying it.
thrilled with the Haas 3.0. It was the real reasons I went Wild Track is I wanted Haas 3.0, just like Marine Vet. I wanted that Haas 3.0 for that better ride for my back. And we've noticed it. We've done the train track test over and over. And it's definitely smoother on the train tracks. You feel next to nothing in the seat. And the Ford Bronco seats are unbelievably comfortable. So they need no improvement. Unlike Jeep, all the Jeeps we've sat in the past that I've reviewed and not made videos on. I've reviewed probably about 6 of them and made a video only on one, one. The seats are horrible in those vehicles. You slide right around. The seat in the Bronco holds you in place, and it's unbelievably comfortable. Not the case for the Jeep, but competition makes everyone better. So I'm looking forward to trying out the 2024 Jeep Wrangler. Bronco seats are great. They're almost certainly not changing for 2024. Really, it's going to come down to grille, fenders, maybe bumpers. Definitely the grille, by the way. The grills. Maybe the hood. I'd say there's pretty decent chance that it'll be a little bit of different changes in the hood. I don't expect the sheet metal to change here. There's a lot more of a cost to change the sheet metal here versus just changing the plastic right there. Those are the changes I really expect for the 2024 Ford Bronco. Now, on a whole new episode, so, end of that episode, that's the end of episode 2. You want to say your little spiel?
Spiel? What is that?
That means your little like what you say about subscribing.
Yeah. Please
That's
like and subscribe. It will help us with the channel to bring you some more news.
Thank you. So, Ford Bronco 2023 changes. Huge changes to the 2023 Ford Bronco that are unseen, and also some changes that definitely need to be made for 2024. Maybe we should have waited for 2024 Ford Broncos. August 14th, we're going to know exactly what those are, but guess what?
Yeah, you're afraid to know it because you said if it's hybrid in the option, I will be sad to just taking a Bronco now.
But if there is, I bet it's going to be a late arrival, and I bet it'll start arriving somewhere between midsummer to as late as October 2024. So who knows if Bronco values stay high, because there's still, even in Canada, there's still dealerships that want 10,000 more. I'm not going to go looking for the photos, but they're in here. There's dealerships. I've got proof. They're wanting $93,000 for an $83,000 Wildtrak. Most of the 2022 used Broncos are being advertised at current 2023 MSRP. So they're asking more, 10, 20, 25, 30. Oh, I deleted that photo. 36,000 kilometer Wildtrak, the dealership. It's a 23 though. It was one of the best prices on the internet. He's asking 73. But it's got 36,500 kilometers on it, and the dealership's asking only 10,000 less, and it's the best priced Wildtrak in Quebec, because most of them start at 83 and go all the way to about 93. So some major changes that do you want to cover major changes that need to occur, or the changes you've seen? How about we start chronologically? So chronologically, Marie, so when I learn French, I teach her English, she teaches me French. So chronologically means we're starting in the order based, by number. So why don't you talk about the changes you've noticed from 2021 Ford Bronco, which we had 2 each one, versus the 2023 that we've got now?
Oh my, that's a good question. I don't know if I will be able to respond to that.
Think about it, and I'll tell you, the reason we got the Wildtrak is we wanted that Haas 3.0 suspension. The Fox suspension on it is incredible. We do notice a difference versus the Badlands that we had set up just like this, and that which has Sasquatch Haas 2.0. We also had the Outer Banks Sasquatch package with, bigger tires, and that still did not absorb the bumps as well as this new 23 Wildtrak with the Haas 3.0. And of course, you're getting a baby, I wouldn't even say a baby Raptor. You're getting little brother Raptor, or little brother Raptor, or a Raptor, baby Raptor. You are getting a baby Raptor, a very powerful baby. Because with the Wildtrak, you've got that Haas 3.0 suspension with the Fox shocks with the external bypass so that the liquid can go off into another tube and then come back in when it's nice and cool. So you can just keep pounding on it, keep taking those jumps and not have the shocks get too hot and worn out and start bottoming out. It's also made a great shock for holding when you get in the air to make sure that your wheel doesn't slam down, and also so that when you land, it doesn't slam into the top of the shock mount. So fantastic suspension. You're getting tie rods from the Raptor, and you're getting that steering wheel rack from the Raptor. So a great question that was asked just this week on the channel. See if I can get the comment, because I want to give credit to this excellent question. Ryan C3656 asked, question, what is more expensive, upgrading a Badlands to have the Haas 3.0 or upgrading the Wildtrak to have a stay bar disconnect? Basically, just curious if you could mesh the 2 Broncos aftermarket. What would be the best Bronco to start with? Well, if you get the Badlands, which we've been looking at here for a little bit here, if you get this beautiful Badlands, well, you're going to save 10 grand. But here's the thing. You'd have to buy tires. You'd have to buy, mags. If you're not a fan of these, Marie loves them. It's her favorites. But if you're not a fan of these, you'd have to buy mags.
And you said you will need, because there's bigger tire, you will need to lift the suspension a little bit?
Thank you. You're going to need to lift the front. Then you've got the steering wheel rack, the steering rack. You've got the tie rods. Tie rods aren't too expensive.
So
Steering rack's a little bit expensive. I think, if I recall, it's about $1,200 roughly. And you still don't have the Fox shocks. And the Fox shocks are going to run you parts and installation. You're going to easily spend $6,000 on those Fox shocks and installation. So it's not good, because your resale is going to be the resale of a modified Badlands. So basically the price everyone else is asking, you might be able to ask slightly more. So if you trade it in, you're going to lose out big time. I've wondered why people put $20,000, $30,000 into their Jeeps. If you're keeping it a lifetime, fine. But if you're going to switch it, you're going to lose out. So you have to spend money or time taking all the parts off your, Jeep or Bronco that you've super modified to keep the parts for your next one. But then by then, the parts have maybe gone out of style, have maybe worn a little too much. So I would definitely recommend getting the Wild Track. Why? Because I've got the photos here. I've done the research. I think I have to, here, let's check this out. That might have been on the other phone. One idea, great performance upgrade for the Bronco. I want to do a whole show on this, top 10 Bronco upgrades, but a lot of people are going with these performance calibrations. Now the Ford performance calibration done at certain Ford dealers, that dealer will continue to guarantee the motor. At other dealers, they will not. And if that's the case, because they have to do the warranty work through Ford Performance, not Ford themselves. So you need to check with the dealer to make sure they will take care of you and work to make sure you get your warranty on your motor. But the Ford Performance chip is the most expensive, but it's warranted work. It also doesn't create the most power. So the power on it was just a wee bit low at 433 pound-feet of torque added to the 2.7 liter and 355 horsepower. So I've declared it for myself and my level of thriftiness, sensibility, for a little bit extra horsepower and a little bit of torque. I'm not spending it. I'll go put my foot down on the Ford Lightning, which will ruin tires in record amounts of time. But to the tie rod question, you're looking at retail price $295, sale price $195. That's what they're going to look like. So you can just add, this is for the Wild Track for your stabilizer bar disconnect. Really inexpensive to get it if you go with a manual stabilizer bar disconnect. Dirt cheap, folks. Other than labor, the parts cost next to nothing. At $195, that's Johnny approved. I definitely get the Wild Track. Have the better resale price, Ryan. So if you're thinking Badlands, modifying it up, well, you could say, well, what about a Badlands? And I just Sasquatch it. Well, then you're basically at the price of the Wild Track anyway. So at that point, pick the model that you prefer the style of, because getting manual stabilizer bar disconnect, which honestly, you're not going to disconnect that stabilizer bar every single day. And if you are, just get a Badlands. But, you're going to disconnect it, 1 to 20 times per year. Sorry, we kind of we can't go rock crawling very often because, there's just snow all the time. You don't want to be crawling on snowy, icy rocks that you can just slide off, because once you're on a rock, the worst thing that can happen is your tire quickly slides off and then grips, because that will cause a shift. And even if you're not even at that crazy of an angle, you'll roll it. Speaking of crazy angles, at the Porsche Road Show, fantastic, thank you Porsche, wonderful Porsche Road Show, Marie holds the track record for getting the wildest angle. Was it 36 or 38%?
No, 32. It wasn't that much.
Oh, no, it was 36. It maxes out at 45. Physics take over no matter what you're rolling, but you're at 36 or 38%.
I know we have a picture of it because the guy said I was the...
He's so impressed. He came over and he's like, hey, do you want a picture? Because you have the record. We haven't, on this course, we've never seen someone, at least...
fun.
And he does Porsche and he does other brands, but... It was, I don't know if the course itself, maybe someone in an old Jeep Wrangler worth $2,000 took it beyond that. But this was in a brand new Porsche Cayenne at, I don't know, $150,000. It was like the Turbo S model. It was pretty wild.
It helped me that we did the off-roading with the Bronco before, so I was more. I wasn't shy to try it, but
Yeah.
I was shy when we needed to drag a 911. But
Yeah, you had,
with the angle with the Cayenne, I was like, okay, I know that we had the Bronco.
you probably had the worst drag
Yeah, worst ever.
that the track has ever seen from any make or manufacturer. A Honda Civic would have done it much faster, but you do
for
have the
sure.
track record for going on a crazy angle, 36 or 38%. I'll need
was
to go back
looking
in the
like
photos
a-
to confirm.
Yeah, I was looking like an old lady on the drag.
So 2023 Ford Bronco, really to wrap this right up,
Yeah.
what we can say, the seat belts, they still in the wind hit against the plastic. So Ford, you need to either have a little section of those inner pillars here, just put a little section. It's as easy as, and of course I could do it myself, but when I buy a new vehicle for $83,000 minus rebate, I don't want to. So just slap a little piece of, fabric or absorbent material there, or the buckle of the seatbelt. Have that have some sort of soft touch to it. But really those pillars, you just throw in some soft touch. So it's not plastic on plastic dangling in the wind. And of course it should be dangling. Things need to dangle in the wind. We don't buy Broncos to not take the top off. So Ford really needs to work on that. Also, if they can somehow, I'd love to see, I'm tired of stickers. Marie loves this sticker. Marie, how much do you like this sticker?
Really, really, really much. Because you had the stickers on the first Bronco that we had. It was blue and the stickers was orange and and gray. And I like to call it a Christmas tree. But this one is not a Christmas tree that passed the test because it's black. We don't see it that much. It's
$500 and here you were. I spent $500 and here she is ripping off the stickers off the Bronco. As soon as it became her Bronco, the blue Bronco became her Bronco. She inherited it, and here she is ripping off the stickers that I spent with installation. I don't know if maybe they're only $400, but you're just ripping them off, thrilled, big smile, and it must have affected me. Having that money go away after only 2 months had to have affected me because I don't have the photos anymore. It's gone, even from Google.
No, but you were hesitating to. You said, "Oh, maybe I will remove it. It's not that beautiful." So yeah, you tell me I could do it if I wanted.
I wanted you to be happy. So,
But this sticker, I really love it.
I'd love to see them painted though. I'd love to see, the Mustang at the price the Mustangs have gotten. Those when you go stripes, they need to be painted on. Whole higher level of quality. And I'd love to see this painted on, but of course with the option to not have it all together. The suspension does not need work in any way for the 2024. The suspension is incredible. It was incredible. It was excellent on the Badlands. It was excellent on the Outer Banks Sasquatch 2021. But on this wild track with the Fox shocks, it's unbelievable. I didn't think something could be much more comfortable than the Lightning. Mind you, we took out the Porsche Taycan. It was the Porsche Taycan? The four-door electric Porsche.
Yeah,
Porsche
the
Taycan.
electric.
So we went out for a ride. We did some bad roads, good roads. And howdy Tim. Tim Bart's Ford video guy. Check him out. Fantastic guy, fantastic channel, best information you'll get on Fords on the internet, period. Not just YouTube. Best information you'll get on Fords across the internet. Check him out if you haven't already done so. We were out in the Porsche Taycan, and I was like, is this more comfortable than the Lightning? And, of course, the Lightning weighs a lot more. It's a truck. It's so much more useful. But we're having a lot of trouble. I don't think we were ever able to resolve that. Did we ever resolve which one was comfortable? The Taycan Turbo
we're
S,
not
that was
sure.
like, what, maybe $230,000 Canadian new versus what was then $110,000 Lightning, which is now $101,000 Lightning in Canada. But we couldn't figure out which one is more comfortable.
Yeah, I guess we love both of these ones.
But what we do know is the Bronco Wild Track is more comfortable than the Lightning. Not only does it have, by far, well, it has a better turning radius than a Ford Mustang, which is pretty incredible, but it's got an incredible turn radius. But really, the comfort of the suspension is superior than a low $200,000 Porsche. They're in the 200 and some odd $1,000 range.
And I love the comfort of these seats on the Bronco.
Mind you, the Porsche Taycan, sorry, I've been saying Porsche Taycan seats were very, very comfortable. The interior was wonderful. People always, always seem to criticize Porsche interiors because, you'll have the dash won't be covered in, the most luxurious leather. But guess what? The seats were incredible. The vehicles were incredible. From the 911 Turbo to the Porsche Taycan Turbos and just the regular Porsche Taycans, and the Cayenne was impressive too. But when it comes to the Porsche Cayenne, did we try a Macan? Or was it just
no,
Cayenne?
We didn't try it.
Cayenne GTS and the Turbo. We prefer this Wildtrak Bronco at half the price. I'm assuming half the price. I haven't shopped Cayenne, so don't take that as money, but Ford could improve by having this painted on because the stickers are hard to keep clean. Now, I've done a ceramic detailer to it, and you can watch my video coming up if you really want to help us out, but in the next week or two, I'll have a video on detailing your new vehicle when you get it. Of course, I'm doing it on this vehicle. And I didn't use the spray ceramic detailer because Danny at Valley Street Ford was really nice. He gave me the ceramic detailer, did the truck, fantastic. Didn't cost me anything extra. He's awesome. He's taught me a lot about detailing. But I went home and did the cream, the liquid. Sorry, instead of a spray, I did the cream ceramic. And the cream ceramic, well, it can go on the plastic somewhat. But anyways, I streaked my plastics. I can probably get it off with a white eraser. But I did ceramic coat this sticker with both the liquid, which then it was starting to turn a little white. And I actually got it out by using the ceramic spray detailer. I was doing tests on an $83,000 vehicle, apparently because I make good life decisions. Because you're so much better testing ceramic products that could ruin your sticker on your $83,000 Wildtrak Bronco than doing meth. And a lot of people are unfortunately doing meth these days. So I'm still taking the better option.
You always say in your channel that you test stuff so people won't have to break their...
That's right. I break my stuff so you don't have to break your stuff. I'm here to take care of y'all because when I break stuff, I don't know, for some reason, if I'm testing and I feel like I'm testing things for the community, Marie was like, are you sure you can put that there? And I'm like, no, it could streak white, but it's a test I'm doing. And I just feel so comfortable messing my stuff up because if I know I might save, thousands or even tens of thousands of people from the same mistake. So people pretty much don't use any cream ceramic products on stickers, and especially not on plastics. Spray ceramics, so a ceramic detailer you can often use, but read the bottle, read the instructions, but you can often use on stickers and plastic. But I'd love if Ford would paint this. So that'll be its own episode coming out.
Yeah, and Rich, ask if you are going to wrap the front end like you did with your previous Cactus Bronco.
Great question, Ridgeview. I wanted to, but I can't because this honeycomb grill, the person in our area that's doing wraps, the business I trust the most, is just like, nope. So I could basically nope. You do this area here. So the lights and up to the honeycomb, you won't touch the honeycomb at all. And I could do a lip on the front of the hood.
That's sad because it's a glossy grill, so
yeah.
The scratch will appear easily, I guess.
Now here's a trick for all you new car people. If you're getting a new vehicle, you need to communicate with your dealer if things aren't proper with the vehicle at or before delivery, not once you've taken it home. Because once you've taken it home, they can't claim things anymore. So thankfully, my paperwork wasn't signed on the vehicle. So technically, yes, I took it home, but no regular customer could ever do this. But you know, anyways. I can take the vehicle home. So I took the vehicle home on Friday. I hadn't handed in my contracts yet, so it's not, declared sold yet with Ford. And I noticed on the hood a spot, and it's actually a spot, something at the factory landed on top of the paint, and it's stuck in the paint. Now, if we take it off, we're going to end up having a hole. So you can claim this stuff. So when you get a new vehicle, if you see something, you need to talk to the dealership. Inspect your vehicle before taking it at home. Even, some dealerships are nicer than others. So I'd say even before signing the contract, go out and spend a good 10, 15 minutes inspecting the vehicle. And then if there's anything, bring it up and make sure that they put in the claim before you sign the papers and before you drive away with the vehicle. I know it's a new vehicle. You're excited. You want it. You'd say it's a new vehicle. It's going to be perfect, but it's not. That's not a Ford thing. It's across the market. You worked at Toyota. Were all the Toyotas always perfect?
That's a good question. I would say, to be honest, that I never checked the cars at the delivery because it was my department. But I knew that they spend a lot of time to do beauty to the cars. Even if it was new, you need to remove the stickers.
And sometimes doing beauty to the car also means that the vehicle comes in and the windshield is already chipped.
Yeah,
or there's a dent in the door because of, transport issues. And on this Bronco, I've never had a perfect Bronco, and this is part of the reason why I often change. But so far, these things aren't bothering me. The hood thing kind of is bothering me a lot. But Ford, I put in the claim. It's going to get resolved. Thank you so much, Lily. Thank you. Blowing me kisses. Love the steel bumper here. But on the back trunk hinge, if I can, I guess I got to zoom out if I want to change photos here. So the back hinge, there's our Lightning. By the way, Ford Lightning goes through front tires faster than rear tires if you're heavy on the pedal. And I would say that I've almost in 8,000 kilometers, I've used up a little more than 30% of the tires in the front. The back, I've used up maybe 10%, but the front tires are about 35% of use, because when you stomp on the pedal real hard on a Lightning, it seems to be a little more front-wheel drive than it is rear-wheel drive. So a little bit of a problem there when you've got expensive, wonderful BF Goodrich KO2s. Again, BF Goodrich KO2, BF Goodrich. Don't be cheap. Send me free tires. I'm always plugging you guys. I want my free tires. Come on, guys. Help me out here. So Marie kicked me under the table. Not allowed to beg. So other major things, and I've actually just before moving on, so inspect your vehicle, because this back hinge right here, if we all zoom in here, so the back hinge, Marie in a cowboy hat again, I'm abusing the situation here. So
just a little.
This back hinge, if you can see my little cursor or my finger, this back hinge has about 20 spots on it, and at factory, wind or something must have kicked up and put some debris over the paint, and now it's dried into the paint. Of course, if you drive away with the vehicle, you go home, they look like stone chips. Obviously, they're not stone chips back here. I'm not speeding down a dirt road in reverse. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. But still, if a few weeks, a month go by and you try to claim it, good luck. You need to do a pre-delivery inspection of your new vehicle. That's not just for Broncos, that's just good advice for everyone, and it's going to save you thousands, because it's the type of thing that would drive me crazy. And I would have spent, eventually, if I kept the vehicle, I would have had to have the hood repainted, or we'll see if they just touch it up or if they repaint it, what they're going to do with it. But the back latch, they're going to just switch, which is great. All right, so Marie was real excited here. Funny face Marie with her funny cowboy hat.
It was the first time we saw the Bronco.
You were excited.
Yeah, I love that color. We always said the next one will be green like that, so I'm happy.
So, yeah, real happy with the color. Real happy with these side steps. The roof, big major change to the Ford Bronco. The roof is so much better. So very much better. And let's see if I can get tonight's photos. If not, I'll just zoom in into these photos. But I specifically took photos tonight. And here, okay, here we go. So even fresh rain here on the hood. The top's purling real nice. You've got this ribbing here. And with the ribbing, the water I had the top open because it had in between rainstorms. I got to drive home without actual rainstorm. I opened the roof. When I get home, I closed the roof, and I couldn't believe it. One, when I opened the door, I didn't get soaked getting in before opening the roof. I opened the roof, I drive home. There was a lot more water on the roof than this, and it just went down the piping over towards the windshield, went off to the side and a bit down the windshield, but it didn't actually go towards the driver. So now there's kind of, you could say, double protection. You've got this piping here to protect you from getting wet, and you've got it down here. So people opening doors and getting completely soaked, that's a thing of the past. This top is a lot better. And inside, true. Now, of course, when you get a high package, they say you're getting extra sound deadening, extra insulation, really. And I've talked to the guys over at service, and the head tech was saying, he actually called me and he's like, Johnny, what's going on? We've got, well, he said, is there a difference between tops at Ford? So I talked about how you could spend a whole bunch of money on your order and get the B-stop top, or you have the standard top. But he's like, specifically, is there a difference in the standard tops? And I said, well, I've definitely noticed between my Wild Track versus my Badlands, my 2023 Wild Track top is a lot better. And he confirmed, he's like, okay, great. He was actually confirming me that the Wild Track had a better top than some of the other 23 Broncos, that it was, it seemed thicker inside. So I'm thinking, I wish Ford would just spell it out easily for us, but I'm definitely thinking that you're getting more sound deadening and insulation out of the high package tops. Now, that goes back to my original point for 2024. I think it'd be great if things were simplified. That lower models, you get a certain top, but then on the higher trim models, whether you go soft top or hard top, that you get a better soft top or you get a better hard top. And Ford spells it out really clearly, Outer Banks, Badlands, Wild Track, this is what your soft top's going to have. It's going to be thicker. It's going to, look better. Whatever it may be, I'd like to see for 2024 better tops, because Jeep does a great job of that. You get up to a certain level of trim in the Jeep, and then you can, you unleash the capacity, the capability of getting the best top I've ever seen in the automobile market. And that's when you have the hard top appearance, but then the middle zips back electronically. And I say that's the best top, but truly, truly the best top until it breaks is a full hard top that folds back and tucks away, like you have at Mercedes, like you have at BMW. And there's a lot of BMW and Mercedes people that are out there that will say, boy, does it ever cost a fortune when your pump breaks. But worse than that, I've actually locally had this happen. Someone put, I think it was $8,000 or $9,000 into their top because for whatever reason, the metal top did not move back evenly and the top got damaged. $9,000 repair. Pretty wild. So that's why overall I think the best is when you have this side here all in painted metal, like on the Jeep, looking great, and then it's just the middle that moves forward and back. So I expect and certainly hope better tops for the 2024 Ford Broncos. That's people watching episode by episode. Unless they watch both episodes, I guess they won't get the full fleshed out what to expect for 2024 Ford Bronco. We'll have the official news August 14th. That's basically in 2 weeks. John B. Meanstroke says, this green looks great. You can tell the difference between the eruption green and this one. Yeah, I'm really liking this one is looking a little different. It's eruption green and it's looking a little different. I think because of all the ceramic that I've thrown on it. Ceramic detailers, actually on our blue 2018 Mustang, we have photographic proof that the blue actually comes off visually as a whole, different shade of blue. But I think with the ceramic detailers, the gold metallic flake, the bronzed metallic flake comes out more, making this green look more bronze. So yes, it's fantastic. And I think a lot of that is achieved with, here, that was yesterday, right? So this was after we did great. So that was after we did not just a liquid spray ceramic, but also the cream ceramic. So hopefully I'll keep you all updated. Hopefully this keeps the sticker clean. But black stickers, folks, it's kind of sad, but they are really, really hard to keep clean. And once they get dirty, they're really hard to clean. I'm going to need to find special products because these black stickers, I've seen them on Mustangs over the years. It's almost like the dirt kind of just bakes into it. So I'm going to be pretty on top of this. Pretty on top of this one. So Marie, good for you. You now have 2 dogs. So stabilizer bar disconnect, get it manual for the wild track if you feel you're missing it. Now that covers my Bronco news, covers the highs and lows. I'm still annoyed by the seat belts. The sound system is definitely on the 2023 high package. It's definitely better than our Sasquatch 2021 Outer Banks, which was high package. And it is so much better than our 21 Badlands. So we're really happy. We wish this still needs a subwoofer to be really very good. Now I can actually say it's good. I can play volume 20 and it's good at volume 20. It's loud, it sounds good, but it would sound very good if it had a subwoofer. Ford had listened to us. They had offered us the subwoofer, but with constraints, they've had to take away the subwoofer. But I got a $315 credit for not having a subwoofer. Thank you, Ford. I appreciate it. That's good money. But I'd still prefer the subwoofer because if I buy one, I think I'm going to end up paying I used to wire vehicles myself. So I used to do sound systems myself. I used to build them up, and I've had a couple crazy sound systems that had a decent reputation.
Wants to be back in the days.
And hat backwards. But I've had good sound systems. I've set them up myself, shopped them, installed them myself. But I don't have time for that anymore. I've got a full-time job, and this business right here, sharing the good news with you all, doing my best to share pertinent and helpful information. So can't do that. And I'm fearful that my old method of, popping trims off, I'm afraid I'm going to damage the trim and I'm going to lose respect for myself, and you're going to lose respect for yourself. Lily might not even blow kisses to me for a straight hour throughout a live. Thank you, Lily. You're not embarrassing at all. Now, that concludes, I think. Do you have anything to add for the Bronco?
No, that's all. Before we switch subject, we have 2 quick questions.
Yep.
So, Ogrebait was asking for your email because he cannot find it in your website.
Check us out on Instagram at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. You can check us out on Facebook at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. And our email, coincidentally, is, you got it, Johnny's Car Care and Reviews at gmail.com. But when it's the email, for whatever reason, just one N to Johnny. I know everywhere else it's Johnny's with 2 N, Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. It's just Johnny's Car Care and Reviews with 1 N. So hopefully that settles that. The 2.7 liter, by the way, I've driven the 2.3 liter. It's a great engine. It gets the job done, but the 2.7 liter is plenty powerful enough without the chip. And if you've got the chip, congratulations. You took great power and made it even better, because 0 to 60 time of 6.7 seconds in this feels a lot faster because of the low end torque of the twin turbo V6, that EcoBoost engine. So outside of reviews, I'll just post your personal phone number at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Yeah.
No worries.
I trust you outside of reviews, so I'm not even worried at all, but I do like the joke.
I guess Johnny has your phone too. Be careful. Yeah. And at the same time, I see past another question from Augurbate who said 2024 Maverick orders, are they open in Canada yet?
I'm going to say yes, but that's a bit of a speculative yes. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, I got that confirmed. I can drop in an order, and I'm not worried about the hybrid or the EcoBoost selling out. Last year, it took until March in Canada for the 2022 Ford Maverick to sell out. So that's a great question. Yes, Aracubo, I was trying to sound a little more radio-like. So thank you very much for noticing my additional effort. It's actually, for whatever reason, anytime I put my head back, that's just my natural voice. And for whatever reason, when I put my head forward, I get more of a geek voice. Well, I guess I've been both a jock and a geek in my life, so it fits quite well.
And For I Follow was asking if we were coming to Florida this year with the new Wild Track, but we'll see, because, with the new baby, 2 dogs in the car, 1 baby seat, I don't know if we'll be able to do that drive.
I want
it was something.
I want to. It's The money's saved up already. I definitely want to, but I need to get the approval from management. So we'll see what management says. Great question went by in the questions, and that's that the 2.7 liter. Can it tow? Well, it still only tows 3,500, just like the 2.3 liter EcoBoost, which does a great job of it. Remember, the 2.3 liter in the Ford Ranger tows 7,500 pounds. So it does a great job with the Bronco. And the Bronco's high gear ratios really help you at takeoff with a 10-speed transmission. Heck, the first 3 gears of that transmission are all about giving you favorable tow conditions. So yeah, it can really tow. And then the 2.7 liter, when you throw in all that torque, 415 pound-feet of torque, most of it available starting at 2,000 RPM. The 2.7 liter is incredible at towing. I used to pull my four-wheeler in a trailer, and it felt like there was absolutely nothing behind. I sometimes would forget it's back there and have the back end of the trailer kind of sliding through the corners, kind of drifting as I raced to get on time to my four-wheeling event, which I would then race the whole time basically with my buddies. Not the safest thing. I had the intuition to feel that I had reasons to start playing it safer, and I sold the four-wheeler before finding out that Marie was pregnant. I actually made a good decision all on my own, but that's partially because at my parents' I almost flipped backwards. I did flip the four-wheeler sideways. I almost lost it off the mountain. And I also had a stick go through the front grille and touch the radiator. And had that been on me, well, that would have punctured me. And I've also flown off that thing into a swamp and landed beside a broken off stick. I could have been impaled. So I don't know why I didn't sell it sooner, really.
1 month more with that thing, and I guess the ATV will die.
Or me. One of us was going to die. It was me or the ATV. But I don't really have much of I don't have a fear of speed. So unless I'm actively thinking and using logic and rationale, I'll just keep going faster, and I'm like, oh, I can finally feel the end of this. Oh, look at this. It's starting to drift, and oh, I'm on 2 wheels. Well, that was really, really cool. I was on 2 wheels in that corner, when in really I should have been thinking, wow, I was on 2 wheels just a little bit faster, and I was rolling a four-wheeler at, 90 kilometers an hour. So I sold it, and now I'm going to be a dad, so I'm going to play it, be a little smarter. Play it safe. Why not? Why not? So 2.7 liter is great for towing. It's great for acceleration. If you, as the WB I believe have done, and I think M Peugeot as well, if you throw on a chip, you're going to get 0 to 60 times of below 6.7 seconds to 100, and that's really fast. But hey, the faster you go, the faster you lose your tires. I'm losing the front tires on the F-150 Lightning at record speed, and I'm happier now driving the Lightning to help.
You want to economize tires. You put me as a driver.
Marine Vet, thank you very much for the support. And there's also the fact that my back couldn't handle always. Surprisingly, never really, I got a stiff back, but I never hurt my back four-wheeling, ever. I cannot explain that one. I was really lucky. So we're going to talk now, move on to the next episode. If you want to wrap up this episode while I do a little search here. So what's your little spiel at the end of each episode?
You want me to spiel again?
I want you to spiel.
Please like and subscribe to help the channel.
Yeah, help feed and dress those poodles. You see, not enough subscribers lately. Marie, sorry, the dog's not called Marie. Lily is licking the air. Maybe it's not because she wants to kiss me. Maybe it's because she wants food. Maybe she's really hungry. So help feed and dress those poodles with a subscription. So, you really like the Toyota Sequoia. So let's talk.
No, not Sequoia.
Sorry, yeah, I like the Toyota Sequoia. You like we both like the 4Runner quite a bit. So, new episode, huge news, 2024, Toyota 4Runner, sneak peek. Let's talk about what it's going to be. One thing we know for sure, it's going to give competition to the Ford Bronco. That's for sure. The 4Runners have always sold really, really well. The 4Runners have been traditionally unbelievably reliable, one of the most reliable vehicles in the automotive world. But it's also been a very dull product. Doesn't change very often. You get into a 2020 4Runner, Tell me it's a 1995, I could easily believe you. There's still parts. It's got the same cruise control switch that I had on my 91 Toyota, on my 2000 Celicas, my 94 Celica, my 2001 Celica. I've owned a lot of Toyotas. Trust me on this one. I love Toyota, but boy, you're one of the most boring products when it comes to almost never changing, but the upside, really, really reliable. But here the Ford 4Runner, even though it's really dated, I still like the current model. But what can we expect out of the new model besides just making the Bronco better? Because Ford doesn't want to lose sales to the 4Runner. It's going to help make everyone better. But the 4Runner, now for having a upgraded Jeep, having the Bronco with, a 12-inch touchscreen, they've got no choice. They're going to be a better product. You worked at Toyota. What were your thoughts about the 4Runner?
I really love that model first because it's the one to go off-roading. It's the major model to do that at Toyota. And I always found that it's a great look for a SUV. So you said, it didn't change that much since many, many years, but it has a great look that passed through the time, I guess.
I agree. Ridgeview had a 2001 4Runner, and I still like the 2001 4Runner, even when I see it today. And I know the Ford Bronco is going to age just as gracefully. It helps. Aging well helps with resale value. So it's good to shop these vehicles that age well. Mm-hmm. It previously, and currently I should say, it has a 6-cylinder. And that's a real weak spot. It's very, very reliable. It's roughly 22 years old. And it's not very fuel efficient. So there's another area that's going to get worked on. I've driven it. There's a bit of sound that comes off of it. I did a review. If you want to watch it on the channel, we did a review of, I think it was a 2020 or 2021 4Runner. I have trouble buying it as a used vehicle because the resale price is so high on this model. But I think getting a new one, I'd put my vote of confidence on that. But they're going to drop the 6-cylinder. They've dropped the 6-cylinder in the Toyota Tacoma for the 2024 Toyota Tacoma. And that 6-cylinder in the Tacoma was also horrible in regards to fuel economy. They have to drop it. But I would have liked them to upgrade it. I think why not copy Ford again? Throw in a twin turbo V6 like they did for the Tundra. But I almost can guarantee that's not what's going to happen. I expect the iForce 4-cylinder engine and the iForce Max 4-cylinder engine with hybrid option for extra torque to compete against Jeep is what I'm expecting out of this vehicle. Now, tell me more about what you like about it.
I like that it's big, so it looks comfortable. It's high, so reminds me of the Bronco, I guess. And I seen the new picture that you just showed before that they kept the side.
Now this isn't an official picture.
Not official.
This is from Hot Cars, but I think they've got a good just for it. I'd say if you like the look of the new Toyota, I called it back when they brought out the new Tundra. I said, folks, that's the look, basically the new design for the Tacoma. Expect the same thing out of the 2024 Tacoma. Well, I'm going to say it again. Look at the 2024 Tacoma and expect to be essentially, that's the new design language at Toyota. So the 4Runner is going to look very much like a closed box 4Runner. I think that's a good thing. Do you like the look of the new 4Runner?
Yeah.
Sorry, do you like the look of the new Tacoma, the 2024 Tacoma? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that with the Tacoma, the Tundra, they changed the front grille. So maybe that's why this one could be close from the real one that will be, because I see the similarity of the look of the Tundra, the Tacoma, so it's a good guess.
The big difference between the 24 Tacoma and the 24 Tundra are the lights. So again, I think the big difference, you'll have slightly different lights when it comes to the 4Runner, but I think the design language of the grille, the bumper, the importance at Toyota of never putting tow hooks on something, or almost never putting tow hooks on something, will probably continue. But they probably will have an overlanding option. I do suspect a snorkel version, just like you have it on the Tacoma now. You've got that overlanding option at a big price, but very cool. I expect that to carry over. I think this is going to be one good looking vehicle, but we're going to get almost certain 2 4-cylinder options. So you look at Toyota Tacoma Power, you look at the powertrain, and if you're not happy with the 2024 Toyota Tacoma, you're probably not going to like the 4Runner. Now, I expect the touchscreen, I called it for when the Tundra came out. I said the Tundra is probably going to come out with a new touchscreen to keep up with the competition. They're due. They're almost 20 years overdue. Just a bit of a joke, exaggeration. They're 10 years overdue. So the Tundra came out with a new screen. Then when I was predicting and doing sneak peeks on the Tacoma, I said, well, I really expect the Tacoma to come out with the same touchscreens as on the Tundra. And that's exactly what happened. Well, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to be repetitive. The new 4Runner is going to have the same screens that you have over in the Tacoma. So check out 2024 Toyota Tacoma interior photos. And if you like that, you're going to like this, folks. I actually think this design, which is by Hot Cars, I think it's actually better than the current Tacoma. So I think I'm going to like this photo probably more than the real 4Runner when it comes out, but we'll wait to see. But it's going to have a bit of, platform like the Tacoma and the Sequoia. So you're going to have a vehicle that's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit wider, meaning it is going to have better handling. I don't mind the handling on the 2020 or 2021 4Runner that I drove around. I found the suspension was decent. Was nowhere near the comfort that I get out of the Bronco. I think that's going to be a major improvement. Having a wider and longer wheelbase of this new platform is going to give you a vehicle that handles the bumps a lot better, but surprisingly also the bendies. And I think Toyota can improve. Current models are okay in the bendies, and they're okay on the bumps, a little stiff on the bumps, but I think we're going to get a better driving experience out of the TNGA platform because it's going to be lighter, stronger, longer, and wider. So we're going to get definitely a better suspension. So powertrains, we can definitely expect that those 4 cylinders will have a hybrid option. Hopefully the hybrid is going to be fuel efficient because on the Tundra, the hybrid, they're 3.5 liter V6 with hybrid option in the real world isn't doing that much for improving fuel economy. It's good for the CAFE rules. It's good for getting your miles per gallon fleet average a little bit better. It's not going to be anywhere near 50 miles per gallon, folks, but it'll probably help you get about 3 to 5 miles per gallon better than the current model. So pricing, I think Hot Cars has got it right here. They're calling for pricing to probably be about $1,500 more roughly per trim. So I think $1,000 to $1,500 more per trim makes total sense. I'd even go, I think on the higher models, I think they're right. Going from a limited to a limited, they're calling for about $1,700. Yeah, I think on the higher trims we can expect $2,000, $2,500 when you're talking about TRD Pro or the limited or the 40th anniversary edition, a $3,000 upgrade. Yeah, price increase, absolutely. So I think price increase is going to range between, I personally really think between $1,500 to $3,000 depending on the model. So $1,500 on the lower trim, $3,000 on the higher trim. So that's what we can expect. Now, I really hope, and I don't expect it, I hope they still stick with the option of being able to jump into a third row seat on their limited model. I think we can definitely expect the iForce Max. Hot Cars called that spot on. I wish I could say that we're going to see the seat, that really fancy seat design from the Tacoma on the 4Runner. I don't know if we're going to see that, but I think that would be really quite fantastic. I'll zoom in for y'all. Toyota is first at making one of the nicest seats I think you can get out of any vehicle. You go into supercars and good luck. This seat is really unbelievably well done in my opinion. It's the best seat that you can get on the market. Look. Really nice look. Gives it a little look of having a little suspension on this on the backing of the seat. Now, I'll need to try that out and see if that really does work and bring you the real deal. But first, Toyota would have to like me enough to invite me out to an event. But Toyota, if you invite me to an event for the 4Runner, I will give my absolute, fairest, most unbiased review. If you have these seats, I'm going to say like, hey, this is a hot buy. If you don't have these seats, I'm not going to be, upset and say don't buy one because of it, but I'll say, hey, that was a missed opportunity to get people to squeeze out a little bit more money. Because if you throw that on the top trim, you're going to have people, or like as a $3,000 option. Heck, if I was shopping a 4Runner and those seats are $3,000, I'm buying them.
Nobody else
Hands down.
has that seat.
Nobody.
Kind of seat. Yeah.
Nobody. And I like having something special and unique. Just like you.
Oh, thank you.
Now.
He's so kind. It's just because you want me to say yes to his subwoofer in the Bronco that he's kind of like that.
So we'll have to see. I don't know if we'll see a manual out of the 4Runner like we have on the Bronco. We are still getting one on the Tacoma, the 2024 Tacoma. We're not getting it on the Ranger. Manuals are slowly dying off. I will be pleasantly surprised, but remember, surprised if it's on the 2024 4Runner. What do you think?
Oh, sorry, I was reading comments.
No problem. Do you think the 2024 4Runner will have a manual speed, let's say a 6, 7, or 8 speed manual transmission?
That's a good question. I knew that Toyota continued to do manual transmission in the truck and stuff like that. So they stick to it, but I don't know now because a lot of is
are
it a good word?
Cutting them off.
Okay, I had
them,
ditch in my head. I'm not sure it was
no,
the right
ditching
word.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ditching
absolutely.
them. Okay, I was not sure if it was a bad word. So yeah, maybe they will follow the market and just ditch it. I'm afraid.
Hopefully, if they ditch it, they'll have us all forgetting about how they're not going to have a manual with the Bronco, though having a manual.
But
By offering these seats.
I
Toyota,
guess we still
throw it
have
on your highest trim or make it a $3,000-$4,000 option on all the trims, and you're going to sell a lot of those seats.
Yeah. But I guess we still have chances to have a manual in that one because it's an off-road car.
Yeah, it's an off-road SUV.
Yeah.
You can currently have the option of the third row when you go with the limited model. I hope that'll still be the case. Now for the 2023 4Runner 4-liter V6, miles per gallon, 16 in the city, 19 on the highway. Not great. 17 miles per gallon combined. If it has the 2.4 liter turbo I-Force, speculative, and I agree with Hot Cars on this one, probably advertised 20 in the city. I think in real life 18, highway 27, and actually, 27. Yeah, possible. I'd probably say 25 going more normal speeds with a combined of 23 miles per gallon. I'd say probably with, your regular standard 4-cylinder turbo I-Force engine. I think you're actually probably going to, on the vehicle that weight, you're probably going to get about 20 miles per gallon if you're careful. I think because of the weight of the vehicle, if you're not careful, I think it'll be very possible to get 19 miles per gallon. And if you throw 35-inch tires on it, like the Broncos have, and you lift it 3 inches in the air, you're probably going to end up about 15 to 17 miles per gallon. Now, for the hybrid 2.4 liter turbo I-Force Max, 24 in the city, if you're super careful, I can believe that. The Ford F-150 goes from basically 14 liters per 100 kilometers down to 10.5, so you're saving about roughly 35% on fuel, 32% on fuel when you have the assistance of an electric engine and a 1.1 kilowatt battery. So I can believe these numbers to be pretty spot on. Now, the highway at 27, and at least Hot Cars is saying whether you have the regular 4-cylinder or the hybrid, you're going to get the same fuel economy. That is so true of hybrids that have a small battery and a small electric engine. So yeah, go with the hybrid on this. It's going to be there, and you'll go with it if you do a lot of city driving. Now, the power, or if you just want power, the power on the hybrid will actually be one of those rare instances where Toyota actually has enough power, because traditionally, Toyota doesn't have enough power. Traditionally, they've got boring powertrains that use too much fuel, which is weird. You'd think if you're going to have a boring, slow powertrain, you're going to use, not very much fuel. Ford somehow gives you a lot of power and, relatively speaking, has quite low fuel consumption. You look at the F-150, and Outsider Reviews tested the F-150 Power Boost. Thank you very much for sharing this. 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, anyone, maybe Marie with the camera, maybe with the other phone here, you could look up
that's really
miles
good.
per gallon. So that's really good out of a
truck.
pickup. It's fantastic. So Ford's offering that with 570 pound-feet of torque, and if I recall correctly, 435 horsepower. That's incredible. When you've got a truck weighing 5,600 pounds coming in at 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers, so soon we'll have that in miles per gallon with Marie's assistance. When you have incredible fuel efficiency out of incredible power, 570 pound-feet of torque is wildly good. It's 22.4 US miles per gallon with 435 horsepower and 570 pound-feet of torque. Historically, Toyota will offer you half as much power and use more fuel. So Toyota has really reliable powertrains. They're great for 30, 40 years, but they're great for longevity. But it's kind of like watching a really obese person walk a marathon. Okay, they're walking it. They've got a lot of weight, so they've got some fuel stored up. They're going to finish that marathon. But it's not the most exciting. It's the least exciting race to watch. Always gets the race done, never gets there quickly or in an impressive manner. And that's how I felt about Toyota since they ditched all the cool models from the 1990s. Guess what? Toyota MR2 from the 1990s, not very reliable from my experiences with many of them. The Celicas, not all that reliable. Toyota Supra, bulletproof powertrain. The motor is unbelievably, it's unbreakable. But, I've always had alternator issues and annoying things go down on those 90s cars. But back then, they were, Toyota was top of the game, top of the game. And I'm happy to see Toyota coming back to the top of the game because that hybrid 4-cylinder should have about 465 somewhere between 400 to 465 pound-feet of torque, helps it compete with Jeep's 4xe, which is an unloved but wonderful powertrain. Now, guess what that brings us to, Marie? That's the end of an episode.
Oh.
So, what do we do what's your little spiel at the end of an episode?
Yeah. It's just making me laugh. Please like and subscribe so it will help us with the channel.
Yes, now let's check it out. 4xe, I've got some quick Jeep news, quick little segment, so stick with us because we've got important news coming down at the end for buyer's advice. We'll pause the video here. Jeep, huge news over for the Jeep Wrangler. One, huge news is somehow a lot of people really don't like the Jeep 4xe, but guess what? You can get the 4xe. That's the 4-cylinder with not far off, getting close to 500 pound-feet of torque. You can drive around. I have a friend that's at the gym, has bought one of these, and they say, yeah, in the summer they're getting about 40 kilometers or about 28, when it's really hot, about 28, 26 miles, all electric mode. So they're going to work back and forth in all electric mode. They're loving their experience. They got a tax credit, and really that's what's selling these things. It's actually selling quite well, but it's because of the tax credit. So there is a cost to that, and governments are forcing in these electric vehicles. in a very, very hidden manner. It's very forceful, but it's I don't know, what would describe a situation where you're being pushed, but you don't really realizing it? Well, actually, yeah, here. When you're driving down the highway and you're getting great fuel economy, but it's because the wind's behind you. You usually won't notice that the wind is pushing you and giving you better fuel economy. You'll just say like, hey, I got great fuel economy. And then for the rest of your life, you'll always compare your other models of vehicles based on that one drive you took where you got incredible fuel economy. Well, governments are pushing electric vehicles in the same way because they think they're zero emission vehicles, and they're not. Batteries are pretty horrible for the environment. On the humanitarian level and on the environmental level, horrible mining lithium. We need to get off our lithium addiction. They're horrible batteries for the environment. And yes, Marine Vet, it's horrible deception because they call them zero emissions. And Tesla is very profitable, unbelievably profitable, and hurting other companies' electric businesses, making it very hard for other companies, electric businesses, to survive because they keep lowering their price. But the reason they have got, they're making money is because Dodge, let's say, when they're selling a cool, awesome V8 in the Challenger, not reliable for 30 years, but a very cool, amazing sounding V8 in the Challenger, well, Dodge has been paying billions, with a B, I didn't say millions, billions of dollars buying credits, carbon tag credits from Tesla. So Tesla makes fake money that only exists because of government regulations that allow this fake money to exist, that allow the company to thrive, when in reality, their cost per vehicle, it doesn't function. They're making their money on selling carbon credits because they don't make any gas vehicles. So they only have carbon credits that's given to them by the government to then sell and make money selling to, let's say, Dodge. This trend and tendency is going to have some very forced outcomes. Like this here, right here, Jeep, parent, stops stocking some gas-powered cars in 14 states. So in 14 states, not so free, but in the free states of the United States, 14 states, there aren't any gas Jeeps. It's all plug-in in 14 states. That's wild. And why is this happening? Well, this is happening because everyone needs to get to this made-up 50 miles per gallon fleet average, or pay horrible, huge fines to the government, which they avoid by buying carbon credits from Tesla. And then in turn, Tesla makes profit, lowers the price of their vehicles, making it harder for Dodge to come out with more, to come out with new electric vehicles, making it harder for Ford to survive, because part of this Jeep story of Jeep only selling, plug-in Jeeps in 14 states, no gas model Wranglers, really Jeep, no gas-powered Jeeps in 14 states, so no Wranglers, no Gladiators that are all Jeep, because of these made-up rules that I don't know how many people actually believe in. Mind you, here's the thing. Psychological studies show that over 70% of the population cannot, if they're given a direct order from the authority figure, even if they know what they're being asked to do is unethical, immoral, and wrong, they will do it because the authority figure, the government, is telling them to do it. So the majority of people don't have enough strength, rationale, that they're more on the emotional side. So your emotional side says, oh, well, the authority figure tells me to do it. Oh, I'm going to go do it. And you don't have the capacity for logic and rationale and a good spine to overcome and say, well, no, an authority figure is telling me to do something wrong. I'm not going to do it. So this was a study done where it's incredible. People were to press a button to harm other people. But the scientists would say, no, you need to press the button. And over 70% would press the button and continue to press the button, causing more and more pain to the patient. Now, the patients were actors, but the people pressing the button causing the pain did not know this. And that's where we found out scientifically that over 70% of the population is not able to defy an order. Well, I'm defying an order right now, and I'm calling total horse crap. Big old pile of steaming horse crap. This is a complete dumpster fire. If we're going to go on the idea that these batteries are zero emission and great for the environment. They're horrible mining. The mining operations are horrible. Getting the battery, the minerals for the batteries, horrible. If you don't have a clean energy source for your electricity, also horrible, and takes the longest period to kind of get to a neutral zone. You could take over 17 years without counting the recycling part. But when you get to the 17-year mark, how many of those batteries are still going to be good in the vehicle? You're going to have people getting new batteries. And then there's the whole, will we responsibly recycle this? When was the last time we responsibly took care of nuclear waste? So here we've got outsider reviews. I like the study that helped, and I lost it. Maybe you can still cover that, Mary. Could you read it out for the group?
Okay,
We've got
I'll
a good
try.
comment coming in
With
here
my
from
good
outsider
English.
reviews.
Yeah, I like the study that had the people stand up upon hearing a tone while in a waiting area. They would introduce a non-actor and they would end up standing up on the tone after a while.
So people would just essentially do what they're told to do. And even there's one art exhibit where a French artist was in a dark room, and there was people in the dark room, and it was like people were told you can do anything you want. And people even had the nerve to pull a gun that they thought was loaded and point it at the person. And some people even pulled the trigger. And anyways, this person was, it's pretty, very, very dark. So it goes to show that in society, there's a very small percentage of people who are actually on their own ethical protectors. And anyways, I don't feel that these laws are necessarily based on sensibility or ethics. We all want a cleaner environment, but there's more going on with the whole EV push, because we need to push electric vehicles, but not based on lithium iron batteries. I applaud Ford for working towards lithium iron phosphate batteries, because that already is going to be a big improvement on the environmental impact. And Ford, if I'm not mistaken, is also working just, it's more down the road, but batteries that just won't be lithium at all. And the real big race is towards solid state batteries. But the current batteries we have, I don't think we're going to recycle these in a very sustainable, smart way. Look, we recycle plastic, and often that just means you pay Chinese companies to go recycle it in China, and they just dump it in the ocean. Why? Because there's no consequence to it. It's not even a matter of, they can get away with it because they won't get caught. It's that in those international waters, it's like, okay, whose laws apply? Nobody? Okay, great, we're dumping the plastic. So, and that's
sad.
Plastic is, how much effort is being put towards getting rid of single-use plastics, which are fantastic for corporations. Next to no effort in getting rid of single-use plastics. And that's a far worse polluter than our wonderful V8 engines. How much effort's being done to, take out those old two-strokes off? Some countries are running almost all their engines on two-stroke engines. Private jets, billionaires, private jets. They go up for 50 minutes into the air. It's worth a normal U.S. citizen's a year's worth of driving. For a normal U.S. citizen gets used up in one private jet, taking that one billionaire up for his daily ride to the office in 50 minutes. They often make 2 trips a day. No effort to reduce and cut that down. So until they start seeming a little more even keeled, not throwing stop signs in the middle of nowhere that have no reason to be there other than slowing down people, which you could use speed cameras and generate revenues with. No one's thinking about the pollution made from brake dust. So I don't believe this whole. And anyways, my dad, just as a side note, my stepfather, who's my dad as well, of course, he chemistry degree, a master's degree in marine biology, and then a doctorate in geography. He has always felt that the climate change, he's been saying this since the 70s, he's been very worked up against plastic and how it causes cancer and changes our insides, our chemical structure, that it's cancerous because it's just oil that you slowly take in over time. He, since the 70s, has been talking about how plastic gets into your system, not just from drinking it, but even against with skin contact, and how bagged milk in Canada is horrible. It shouldn't exist. But he's also been pushing against how climate change, 12,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, we ended an ice age. And the normal cycle over hundreds of thousands of years is that we end an ice age, things get, we go into an ice age, it gets really, really cold, and then we end an ice age and things slowly get hot until they get really, really hot. And when things get extremely hot, it forces things to switch over and go back into another ice age. And that's part of the planet's natural structure. Also, end of this rant. I'm sorry for everyone who's not here for a rant on this. But, Canada, we need to become carbon neutral by a certain date. Australia, well, guess what? Canada and Australia, we're not even carbon neutral. We're carbon positive. We're carbon negative. We have, for all the carbon that we produce, our forests, our bogs, the moss, all the little shrubs, all the trees, soak up way more carbon than Canada will ever produce. We could really go all out on oil, have a much better economy, and we'd still be overall better for the planet than what the negative we're putting out. We'd have more positive just from all those forests that we have.
That's great news.
In Australia, same thing. So
nobody speaks about that.
No, because it's science that's truthful, and people aren't interested in the truth. They're interested on what piece of information can I use to push forward my agenda to get what I want. As a human species, it's all about me, me, me. How can I abuse other people to get what I want? And I know since I was a little guy, it's something that always just really made me mad. I've got that, I guess, a bit of a protector aspect to me, and I don't want people used and abused, lied to for other people's gain and benefit. Gets me riled up. But I'm gonna stay cool and calm until they take my steak away. Take my steak away, I'm gonna fight. So
steaks again.
Don't take my steak away. Now that covers everything for the 4Runner. It covers everything for the Jeep. I love my Lightning. I don't want anyone to take my semi-anti-EV. I'm not anti-EV. I think it's a fantastic choice, but I don't think it's a choice we should be forced based on a lie of it being somehow so much better for the environment than gas. I think we should get the choice to have gas or incredible, hot, ultra-high performance electric vehicles. The Lightning is ultra-high performance. It's a super truck. It is an incredible, incredible super truck. I love it. But I want my Bronco. I want my options. And I hope the Bronco goes plug-in. If it doesn't happen for 2024, well, then they're just going to push it to the whole refresh and the full remodel, not the mid-model refresh, but the full new model in 2030, likely. That's going to be a very long time. Ford needs that 50 mile per gallon average. So that means they need to sell less F-150s that aren't electric, more F-150s that are electric. So that's why I'm not expecting prices to come down anytime soon by that much on gas-powered F-150s. And really, that's what's keeping Ford alive right now. So let's jump into the last 10-minute segment of the show. New vehicle prices. Really, do we follow advice? Don't buy a new vehicle right now? Well, I'd say buy a vehicle right now, and also don't buy a vehicle right now. They're both two fantastically true statements. like everything in life, there's white, there's black, and there's a whole lot of gray in between because life has a lot of variables. So it all depends who you are. If you have, I'm going to make this super simple. If you currently have a trade worth a good amount of money, it's a 3 to 5 year old trade, you need to trade, you need to buy a new vehicle right now because all the evidence and data I'm collecting supports the idea that new car prices are probably, Jim Farley, CEO at Ford himself said, car prices are likely going to go down another 5 or 10%. Now we've got other articles from other top dogs, if I can call them top dogs. I don't know if that's the right expression. What do you think the English expression? Let's check your give you a little English check here. What'd be your impression for someone who's a big deal, a head honcho, for example?
My impression? I don't know.
Okay, so I think I've got this over down here as a slide. You've got, the major car companies. I was watching Car Edge today. Love the channel. Great data. Really entertaining. I love the relationship between these two, between Ray and Zach. But they were talking about how, for example, Lithia CEO Brian Daubert told Automotive News. So this is an article from Automotive News that he expects monthly gross profits of dealerships. So this is a big, huge dealer corporation that has dealers under one band. They're expecting vehicles, and other CEOs of major dealer network corporations are talking about this. Fat cats, thank you, that is great. Ogre bait, so very good. Okay to be an ogre, don't be a troll in life. But these head top dogs are talking about $100 to $200 a month dealer profits going down. What does this mean? It means about $100 to $200 less every month you wait for your new vehicle. So does that sound good to you? $100 to $200 a month less? Not in the monthly payment, in the overall dealer's profit, meaning on average, they're going to give up to the customer an extra $100 to $200 a month to entice them into a new vehicle. So 5 months, it's $500 to $1,000. A year, roughly $600 to $1,200. Those numbers sound okay. But if you think about it, dealers, and Ray and Zach did a great job of talking about this. They're talking back in the day before the last 3 years, dealers on average made about $200 to $400 of profit per unit. And now they're looking at about $4,000, which brings me to another major headline. Q2, new car gross profits drop for 6 public auto dealers. So these are corporations that have hundreds of dealers underneath their banner. And they're talking about how, last year, 12 months ago, they're in the high 6,000s. Now on average, they're in the high 4,000s. So they've gone down about $2,000. So 2,000 on 6,000, that's what? 2,246. It's like 33%. Sorry, I'm doing my math all wrong, but it's roughly about a 30% decrease. I'm trying to stay focused here, so I'm not going to do the math in my head and forget what I'm trying to say here. But profits went down by about $2,000 per unit, meaning there's still space. Car Edge brought up the great point. There's still space to negotiate a great deal. Yes, but everything goes with supply and demand. So they might not want to take that. If you're trying to offer them they've got about on average $5,000 of profit, and so you offer $5,000 less and you're not willing to budge, they probably are just going to go, well, I guess I'll sell to the next person. This unit will be here for someone that's going to come in later today or tomorrow, and we'll get more out of them. Now, the problem is dealers are building up their inventory because too many are still saying, well, no, I want the $6,700 per unit I was making back in 2022. That's silly. Sitting around trying to make $5,000 is a little risky. You'll still grow your inventory. And if you want to be smart, you just want to be a little bit better than the rest. You always want to be ahead of the game. Really, you should be willing to give up a little bit. So that means, I'd say if I was shopping a new vehicle right now, I would definitely all my vehicles are always relatively new. So I definitely, if you're in the market and you've got a trade-in that's between 0 to 5 years old, now is the time, because your trade in, let's say, 12 months is going to be worth about 20% less. So if you have a $40,000 trade, well, that's $2,000 on every 10,000. So you're going to get about $8,000 less for your trade. Already, my local dealer, I'm looking at cars that we bought 3 months ago that now, a $23,998 plug-in Fusion is now $20,998. Is it one of the best prices on the market? Yeah, it's one of the best deals you can find on the market for a Fusion plug-in that has been inspected, reviewed. You're getting a good vehicle, but you're also getting one of the best prices on the net. But that's also why they're going to sell it probably within the next 10 to 20 days. But dealers that keep the old price because they go, well, no, I paid more for it, they're just going to collect dust on that vehicle and are not going to get sold. It's sold. It's going to take them a long time to get sold, and they're only going to sell it when they wake up and smell the coffee. So if you've got a relatively new, 5-6-year-old trade or newer, now's the best time, because the prices are going to fall way more on the used than on the new. Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, was talking about 5 to 10% on new vehicles, a drop. I'd say I believe that over roughly a 12-month period. But, how do they calculate that price drop? If the MSRP increases, but they're giving more rebate, I think generally they're still calculating that as, hey, there's a price drop. Let's say last year they're giving 0 in rebate on an F-150 and now they're giving $4,000. They call it a price drop, even though the MSRP has increased. So over 12 months, I expect MSRP prices to come up a little. And yes, the rebates will also go up a little. But where you're really going to get hurt is the trade. Now, if you're shopping a used vehicle, guess what? The best time to buy a used vehicle is going to be the longer you wait, the better. Because in a year, if prices are down 20%, you're going to pay probably about 15% less, because most dealerships are going to be 3-4 months behind, sometimes 5-6 months behind, and they don't adjust their prices quick enough. Those aren't dealers you want to buy at. You want to buy at dealers that if they bought a vehicle 3-4 months ago and there's been a 10 to 15% decrease in just the last 3 months. In the last 2 months, we're going to find out tomorrow. I'm putting, my hand down, betting that July will have gone down as 4 or 5% decrease in wholesale prices at auction for used vehicles. June was 4%. May, I don't remember. I think it was something like 3%, but I expect July to come down as a 5% decrease. There's almost 15% decrease over 3 months. And I expect over the next year, about on the high end, 20%, on the low end, 15% for the next 12 months. To see 5, max 10% decrease on new vehicles, but not really, because the MSRPs will have increased from year over year. So interest rates, probably looking at 2 to 3 years before we start seeing better interest rates. So if you're looking for a used vehicle and you don't have a trade, or your trade is, guess what, 15 years old, 12 years and older, dealers generally don't pay very well those vehicles because they're high risk. Because a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old vehicle is going to cost you a lot of money to prep, to get ready for resale. Or if you don't do anything on it, well, then you're just risking your reputation. If you don't put any money into it, someone buys it, takes it to another mechanic, they can come back and ruin your reputation fairly enough. If it's like, hey, if the sales guy told you, oh, this vehicle's great, this is a great 12-year-old vehicle, and you find out you got to put $8,000-$9,000 into it, you're going to go blast them on Facebook. You're going to ruin their reviews on Facebook. So smart dealers recondition their vehicle. They don't sell the bad ones. They send them off to the auction house. So advice for all you dealers out there that want to know a successful manner of doing business. And you'll be successful if you take care of people. If you take care of people, you give them good service, and you do your absolute best to give them a good vehicle. And when You get it wrong and the vehicle seemed good. You thought you did everything you could to it. Heck, I remember I sold a BMW, put $3,800 into it. Vehicle goes out to New Brunswick, has about an 8-hour drive. After 2 weeks, lights pop up. We already put $3,800 into it. It needed another $4,000 or $4,200. My business put the money in because we care about the people we sell to. We care about our reputation. So we had a happy customer, and we apologized. We said, truly, we really did not expect that. We truly thought we were selling you a fantastic BMW. We're going to take care of you now. We're paying your mechanic. We'll cover the bill. So smart dealers follow a simple triangle. Top of the triangle, have a price that is very competitive. Sides of the triangle, left side, recondition the vehicle. Do everything you can to make it a trouble-free vehicle for the next customer. Third point of the triangle, don't hold on to everything. Also known as don't get greedy. If you look over the vehicle and you're like, we could make this look good, we could make this seem good. No, that's a vehicle that needs to go off to auction. Don't touch it. Lose $1,000 right now, sending it off to auction. Admit that you paid the trade for too much. Heck, if you need to feel better about yourself, send the person a nice little email with the proof that you sold their vehicle less over to the auction house and say, look, you know what? Your vehicle turned out to have this, and that problem. We paid it as if it didn't, but good for you. We think we made the mistake, but don't worry. That's our problem. We've sent your vehicle off to the auction house. It won't be a problem for anyone else. If you need to do that to feel better, that you feel like you're buying credibility and reputation with that person who might then say hey, one time I sold my vehicle to X dealer and it was kind of crappy in the end and they lost money on it. You know what? The person will probably, if you do it in a classy enough and kind enough way and don't insult them, they probably will come back and see you and be like, hey, sometimes they buy bad trades for good prices. But don't keep that vehicle. Don't try to pawn it on to someone else. Take care of people and the money will follow. So that's my advice for the market right now. It's both buy right now and don't buy time on the market. You've got a trade, buy right now. You wait. And if you don't have a trade and your used vehicle will not cost you very much. Let's say you've got a boring 4Runner that takes way too much gas. 2002, and you definitely are convinced it's going to last it. You could try to tough out the next 3 years because in 3 years, interest rates should be lower. They'll need to re-stimulate the economy that, the banks and governments created inflation. We're now all paying for it with high interest. We're going to continue to pay for it in high interest, even though, all the numbers are saying interest rates shouldn't go up more. They've still been putting them up. Why? Because they need to pay back for the money they invented. So banks have been printing money in the form of giving out house loans and mortgage loans and loaning money to corporations so that corporations can buy up leasing properties so that they can then increase the prices on those leasing properties to make the cost of living more expensive for everyone. They also buy single unit homes, which I think should be illegal, that major corporations with huge funds on the stock market should not be allowed to buy single unit family homes to then rent out to families because it drives up the price and it makes it so that families can't afford them. And then when the lower middle class the lower upper class can't buy rental units and small apartment blocks when corporations are driving up the prices because there's all this competition. And the worst is when it's not even our corporations, but it's interference by foreign influence where you've got certain countries buying into our real estate, jacking up the prices, and then leaving those spaces empty or renting them out. Either way, it's money leaving our country, especially when they get rented out to our people at higher prices. So I think a lot of that there needs to be some control. I have no problems with corporations spending trillions of dollars, which is their plan. Corporations want to spend trillions of dollars on new housing. I applaud them. Great. So people with more money can go on towards that new style, the new apartments, the new homes. I'm even okay with corporations building single family homes, because people with money will have the choice to go buy the newer and the better product, the in fashion product. But what the problem is when these major corporations have trillions of dollars through the stock market and foreign interference, foreign bad people, because it has a bad effect. They're not bad people, but they're creating a bad effect. But when foreign individuals are buying up properties here, not even living in our countries, so not helping out with our countries, the result is they jack up the rent, cost of living goes up. But if corporations want to build single unit homes and all the people that can afford them can move to them, and then the older homes can go to people who have less money, because that's great. I think that's a bit of a solution that I feel could be very functional to control the rising cost of homes and rentals, which have skyrocketed, which are choking people. We need money left over to buy nice cars, because when you have a nice car, you're a happy camper. Nice car, happy life. Isn't that how it goes? Or is it happy wife, happy life? I guess
it's both of them.
I think it's nice car, nice life. Yeah. But a happy wife definitely is important, folks. So that wraps it all up for me.
Yeah, we had just a good question from For High For Low to finish. Where can I purchase the Bronco shirt that you are currently wearing? If I'm not mistaken, we bought it on Amazon, and I guess we have the link to a t-shirt in our affiliate links. Maybe it's not that t-shirt, but it will probably help you to find it easily.
Thank you very much,
because
Maddie.
I know we had a shirt in the links.
So if you can wait 3 years for your used vehicle and you don't have a trade, you're probably going to get better interest rates, and you'll probably get a better deal, because the used market is doing this at a steep rate. The new market is doing this at not a steep rate. So if you have a relatively new 0 to 7 year old vehicle, buy a new vehicle now, because we have better prices than we did 4 or 5 months ago. Much better prices, unless you're looking for one of those hard to get models. A Ford Maverick, there's no rebates on that. A Ford Bronco, Maverick and Bronco, interest rate is high, no rebates. Why? Because they're so darn popular. Because guess what, folks? Whether you like it or not, we're in a capitalist system, meaning demand versus supply controls pricing. So if you've got really high supply and low demand, guess what? Companies and corporations aren't going to pay to store these units or whatever they're selling. They're not going to stand around and pay interest on them and pay storage fees forever. They're going to drop the price. But when you have much higher demand than supply, well, then you end up with a vehicle that increases price every few months, that has higher and higher interest on it. So you got to go for the models that there's a lot of. You got to go for the high supply models, but be careful. Try to balance that out with also good reputation, good reliability, and good resale. But I showed the list a while ago, and I think I even still have it open here, but maybe I don't. But yeah, right here, you can go and look at a US best-selling automotive brands last month, and certain brands have huge decreases. They're going to need to move units. They're going to have bigger rebates. But you can also look by model, and you can see F-150, there's a lot of inventory of F-150. So guess what? You're going to get a great rebate in either the form of an interest rate or a rebate. And I can bet for the month of August, the F-150 is going to continue to have a fantastically low, for these days, interest rate. And that's what we can expect from it. Now, to completely wrap up the show real quick, Ford, when they share information at stockholder meetings, they can't lie about these things. They got to be straight up with the numbers. And guess what? Some channels have doubted that the F-150 really loses money, the F-150 Lightning, and they're like, no, no, no. Ford's a super old company. They're not losing money on anything that they sell. Well, yes and no. They are losing money on the entire electric side of things, and that doesn't keep them from lowering the price. They have to lower the price because of Tesla, and Tesla has all sorts of money, and the only reason they're profitable is because they're selling fake EV carbon tax credits to companies that don't, make the cut, that would get fined for not being fuel efficient enough, for not being nice enough to the environment. So you've got $4,000 for certain regions on the Mach-E. You can go to Ford Authority, look at these regions to see if you could, if you're in one of these regions, you probably want to shop a Mach-E because there's a nice rebate on it. Now, the Lightning, we all know, I've been covering this a lot. Generally, they've gone back to almost their original pricing on the Ford F-150 Lightning, but the F-150 Lightning is losing money. So just recently, yet again, Ford announced at the shareholder stock meeting that they're losing billions of dollars with the EV. But guess what? There's 3 divisions at Ford, and the gas division is making, last quarter they made a couple $1 billion, and the commercial division almost made $3 billion. So that when over a quarter you lose about $2.4 billion on the electric side of things, well, it ends up being a bit of a tax write-off. You made almost, let's say you made a little over $5 billion in one quarter over on your gas, the commercial division and the gas consumer side of division. If you make roughly $5 billion there, but you lose $2.5 billion on the EV, well, that makes it a tax write-off. So you're instead of paying taxes on $5 billion, or at the end of the year times, let's say you make $20 billion in profit, but then you lost a quarter of that, so you lost $5 billion or $6 billion to the electric side, the division, the EV division. Well, you just end up paying less taxes. And that's also about how if you want to pay less taxes because you're having great years, and Ford's having very profitable years, and all the truck companies are having very profitable years because trucks are unbelievably popular. So what do? Great time to come out with electric vehicles, tax write-off, and you front load everything. So if you have to build a new factory and you spend $6 billion or $8 billion on a new factory, Ford even took a $9 billion loan, and people are saying, oh, that's to cover their loss on the EVs. No, it's to cover not the loss on the EVs, it's to cover the investment on the EVs, because Ford is almost certainly front loading their expenses. So, you build a new building and you could spread over the cost of making a $9 billion factory or $8 billion factory. You can spread that over, do you want to spread it over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or you want to spread it over, the next 3 years? And oddly, in 2026, Ford's CEO is saying that the electric division should be profitable, which really makes me think that all those upgrades going on, those new factories for EV, all the investment into the EV, they're really very much front loading it. And this is going to protect them in case gasoline engine vehicles aren't as profitable later on, or in case they get banned later on. Well, they'll have front loaded all their losses when they're actually making a whole lot of money and needed tax write-offs to not pay a whole lot in taxes. So it actually, how the tax system works and how you can front load your losses against your profit, it's great that you can write off an $8 billion factory in a year that you make $20 billion because you pay less taxes, and it helps bring out this new technology, helps unveil this new technology. I just really hope that gasoline vehicles don't get banned. So let's see what the future has in store. So the big story, if you want to read it on Ford Authority, is Ford EVs loss $32,000 per unit in Q2 2023. So for YouTube channels saying that Ford, that's a bunch of baloney, Ford doesn't lose money on EV vehicles, you can still negotiate them. No, the pricing on EVs, if it's window sticker, It really is window sticker. And by January 2024, the window sticker price is going to be the price that you pay. Dealers that are still selling electric vehicles will not be able to sell for these inflated price. So great news for everyone. But don't expect either to cut into, to get a deal the way you would on, a gas. Don't expect a $4,000 or $5,000 manufacturer rebate unless you see it on the internet. Don't expect the dealer to drop the price either by $4,000 or $5,000 because they don't have that capacity. They won't have the capacity to sell for more or for less. Everyone's going to get a great deal. And at the last, in May, late May, May 24th, May 25th, Jim Farley, you can read the Kelly Blue Book article, quoted Jim Farley, and it's just straight up. I'm going to paraphrase, but he was saying Ford is moving towards set pricing. So that means the pricing is set by the manufacturer. And it was like a period, which makes you end of paraphrase, I should say. So it really looks like what I called way back when saying EVs would be the first to get set pricing by the manufacturing. Dealers couldn't mess around with pricing anymore, that you wouldn't have to shop 10 dealers to get the right price. That if it was a success on the EV side, that it's definitely going to get pushed into the gas division. Well, guess what, folks? That's one where I think I'm going to be right. Unless Jim Farley gets replaced by someone who has a very different vision, it's just a question of when will you go into a dealer, and it's going to be all about service, because they're not going to get to play around and waste your time on price. They'll just focus on winning your loyalty, your purchase. It's going to be based all on giving you great service to try to win you over. So that is that. Thank you so much for watching. Marie, do you want to close up the show?
Yeah. So again, please like and subscribe to help feed those poodles and maybe buy a baby seat to go in that new Bronco.
Thank you so much to everyone for being here. Thank you for watching the live. It was a long one this week, but thank you so much. Ridgeview, R-Cubo, the WB, Marine Vet, Outsider Reviews, Tim Bartz, a Ford video guy, so many more that I need to thank that I don't have time to thank because I've already gone off. I told Marie it'd be a 1 hour show. Don't worry, hon, join me for the show. It'll only be an hour. So thank you so much, folks. Have a great one. I hope you get to put the pedal to the metal on your vehicle, and I wish you all more cars and more power. Take care, everyone.
Bye.